Give me locations in the comments as y'all are coming in. Locations in the comments as you are coming in. As y'all coming in, give me your locations in the comments. We're going to get started in a moment. Making sure we are live everywhere that we need to be live. Shout yourselves out. Shout out your locations in the comments. Let's make sure we're live everywhere that we need to be live. Happy Monday, everybody. Hope everyone's had a great weekend. Today is today supposed to be a holiday, but I was looking around. It didn't seem like it was a holiday. I was looking at the USPS, as a matter of fact, because I needed to go to the post office. Because the post office, it says the post office is open. So I thought this was supposed to be a national holiday. Isn't today supposed to be a national holiday? Maybe it's not today. Yeah, today. Columbus Day, what some people now call Indigenous Peoples Day. I still call it Columbus Day because, as far as I'm concerned, actually not as far as I'm concerned, this is just the reality. Christopher Columbus did discover America. I mean, we still got to give a guy credit. Give me locations in the comments here, folks. I'm just telling y'all just something I'm thinking. They try to call this Indigenous Peoples Day here today, but we still got to give Christopher Columbus credit because he did discover what became America. He discovered the land for people over in Europe, and people over in Europe came over here and made it into the world, the land that we now occupy. Those of you who are Americans, they made it into this. So even if you have heard some history about them that makes you look upon them negatively, we still can't act like Christopher Columbus didn't find the land. All right, so the indigenous peoples, or the Native Americans, or what some of you inaccurately call Indians, maybe they were here, but they didn't tell everybody else. So we wouldn't be here if Christopher Columbus hadn't let everybody know. So Christopher Columbus still gets credit. Because again, none of us would be here. Well, at least not the way that it ended up happening. It wouldn't happen had Christopher Columbus not let everybody else know. So shout out to Christopher Columbus. So get that man his credit. Anyway, we are live on Rumble. Good morning, Rumble. Live on YouTube. Good morning. I already checked on X. We are live on X. And we are live on Instagram. My name on each of those platforms is at Dre All Day. So good morning to all of you in those places. We are live on Facebook.com/Work on Your Game University for Facebook users. Live on Instagram at Dre Baldwin, KingWorks21 from Tuscaloosa. Good morning. As y'all are coming in, shout your locations out in the comments. What do y'all think about my Christopher Columbus position? How y'all feel about Christopher Columbus? Do you agree that he should still get credit and the day should still be named after him? I don't think it should be called Indigenous People. I think it should be called Christopher Columbus. Why? Because Christopher Columbus let the rest of the world know that this land was here, and then everybody else came over here, and everything that happened after that happened because Christopher Columbus let everybody else know. Had he not let everybody else know, then all of this wouldn't be here the way that it is. Again, the indigenous people, quote unquote, were already here, but they didn't tell anybody else. So why do they get credit? They don't get credit. They didn't do nothing. They were just here. They were just here living. Christopher Columbus is the one who told everybody else, hey, there's land over here, and we can come over here, and even if you're black, and I know the slavery, et cetera, but look at where we are now. That is all started with Christopher Columbus's discovery for everybody else that this is the world. So how y'all feel about the Christopher Columbus? Y'all agree Christopher Columbus deserves credit? San Antonio, Cosmo Terry, good morning. Good morning to you. Murphy the Mutt, good morning. Thanks for the gift early. Dwayne Mitchell, thanks for the gift early. Detroit is in the building. Don Johnson from Lima, Ohio. Good morning. 140.6 Walnut Creek, California. Uncharted Waters from Michigan. Sherry, good morning from Louisiana. Meemaw's Table, good morning. Linda Gale from St. Louis. Shout out to St. Louis. I've been there. Ken Jussick, good morning from Cleveland, Ohio. Sherry, you said you agree? Yeah, I think Christopher Columbus deserves credit. It should still be called Christopher Columbus Day or Columbus Day. Marky Man, good morning. Sacramento in the building. Justice Scroller, good morning from Shreveport. Shout out to Shreveport. Bristol Tins, where is that? I'm guessing that's Tennessee. Snap said you need some education. What am I missing, Snap? Tell me what I'm missing. Suzanne said is inaccurate. What's inaccurate about it? Tamwell Pombo, California. Suzanne checking in from Ireland. Shout out to Ireland. Cedric Wright said, I am in. Shout out to Cedric Wright for being in. Ashley Murphy said, why do you not tell people to get out a vote? Vote for what? What election is there to vote for? Last I checked, the elections were 2026. Well, we're talking about the big federal ones. 2026 is the federal ones, Congress, and 2028 is president. So what vote are you talking about, Ashley? Tell me what the vote is. I tell people to go vote for it. Maybe I might be interested, and I'll tell people. Giga Dad. So my question here I was initially asking people is Christopher Columbus. Should this day still be named after Christopher Columbus? That's the question that I'm asking. All right. Should this day still be named Christopher Columbus, or should we be calling it Indigenous Peoples Day? I don't like the idea of calling it Indigenous People. I like calling it Christopher Columbus because Christopher Columbus let everybody else know that this land was here, and had everybody else not found out, then what ended up happening and how we ended up here today, that chain of events would not have happened the same way. Indigenous people didn't do anything. They were just here. They don't get a day named after them. They get called Indigenous people. I say Christopher Columbus still gets credit because he told everybody else in Europe, then the people in Europe, the settlers came over here, and everybody else came over here, and what ended up happening happened. So Christopher Columbus still gets his credit. That's what I'm saying. Anyway, so where was I? I'm shouting out a couple more people. I'm just shouting out locations here. King Nadir, thank you for sharing the live. Tamwell Pombo said, hell yes. Yeah, I think Columbus gets credit. Ashley says, so Democrats can take the midterm, start prosecuting Trump and his cabinet. Yeah, they can try to prosecute. Nothing's going to happen. Ashley, you can dream about that, but ain't nothing going to happen. They can prosecute him. Trump, if Democrats take over Congress, Trump will get impeached again. Nothing's going to happen. He's not going to get kicked out. It'll just be good material for somebody like me. I can use it for content, but is anything actually going to happen? No. So I wouldn't get too excited about that. Michelle Franklin said, not Indigenous People Day. Yeah, I say it's still Columbus Day. As far as I'm concerned, this is Columbus Day. But I thought Columbus Day was a holiday. But I see the post office is open. A lot of businesses are open. And nobody's even on a modified schedule today. So what happened? So they just take away the holiday part of it. Just a shout out to, throw some shade at Christopher Columbus. I don't understand what's happening. Lucky Penguin said Congress can only investigate, and the most they could hold people in civil. No, they can impeach. Impeach is to bring charges. They can bring a charge, but they're not going to get Trump kicked out, because in order to get him kicked out, you got to get some Republicans to go along with it. That's not going to happen. They're not going to remove Trump from office. They're going to make a big noise about it, but that's not going to happen. But anyway, let's get to the topic here today. Topic here today is the invasion, quote unquote. I'm not going to do air quotes every time I say it. But the invasion of Chicago by Donald Trump and some troops from Texas. So Donald Trump and his National Guard and Greg Abbott, with the help of Greg Abbott and some troops he sent in from Texas, they have invaded Chicago. And again, I'm saying this in a tongue-in-cheek way. I'm not going to do that every time that I say this. I'm not going to keep giving y'all that disclaimer. So I'm sure some people are going to misconstrue my angle here, but it doesn't matter. Early this month, and we're about halfway through October almost, about 400 Texas National Guard soldiers were deployed to Chicago by order of President Trump with the authorization of Texas Governor Greg Abbott. So Greg Abbott is clearly a MAGA guy, definitely a Republican, and a Trump supporter. What Greg Abbott decided to do was help Donald Trump out, because we know Donald Trump's been targeting Chicago being a heavily Democrat-run area for a very long time, and Chicago having a reputation for having crime issues, especially when it comes to violent crime, often done by black folks. Greg Abbott decided to hop on the Trump train even further, and he got 400 National Guard soldiers who are already working in Texas. He authorized those soldiers to be sent to Chicago to help Donald Trump attack the crime in the city of Chicago. This happened about last week. And the whole point was, quote, to support federal immigration operations, close quote, amid Illinois' aggressive enforcement actions. Now, aggressive enforcement actions, I guess, meaning they're not really enforcing or they are enforcing. We'll get into that in a moment. Now, why would Greg Abbott be involved in this in the first place? Why is Greg Abbott sticking his nose in the business of Chicago? Well, one reason is because Greg Abbott is the governor of Texas. And everybody knows that the southern border of Texas is the United States border. And that border between Texas and Mexico is where a lot of people come into the country, whether legally or illegally, documented or undocumented. And we know that Greg Abbott had a big problem with what was happening at that border during the Biden-Harris administration. Biden and Harris were not enforcing. They decided to, by executive order by Joe Biden, not really enforce the laws and the rules at the border of the southern United States. Greg Abbott, though he is the governor of Texas, he could not supersede what the federal authorities decided, i.e. Joe Biden. So all these people are coming into America through the southern border of Texas, a lot of them remaining in Texas. They were not dispersing themselves throughout the country, remaining in Texas. Greg Abbott was probably, I don't know Greg Abbott, I didn't hear this from his mouth, I'm not reporting it, I'm just theorizing. He's probably kind of pissed off about that. Would you be pissed off if you're the governor of a state and a bunch of people are coming into your state who don't have proper documentation, who are not adding to the value of your state, but now they're there because the president, person with more authority than you, is not doing anything to enforce the laws that would have kept those people out of the state, on top of the fact that that president is a Democrat and you are a Republican? This is a perfect storm for a conflict. So Greg Abbott's pissed off about this, I'm sure. He was the one who actually initiated the whole sending people on buses to all these different sanctuary cities, quote unquote, to claim they would be sanctuaries for people coming into the country and immigrants and undocumented and whatever legal status, whatever terms they were using, the Biden-Harris administration was using during the last few years of that term. And those sanctuary city people were talking shit on social media, and it sounds good when you're just saying. There's another thing when you got to actually do it. Greg Abbott started putting people on buses and actually sending them to these places, which I don't think the places were actually thinking it was going to happen, such as Eric Adams in New York saying we'll be a sanctuary city. Then all of a sudden buses of people start arriving in New York, and New York didn't know what the hell to do. New York did something, gave these people food, gave them hotels, and gave them money. And people in New York are like, wait a minute, you ain't give me a hotel, food, or money. So it made them all look silly. And long story short, made them all look silly. Greg Abbott obviously still has an issue with anything immigration-wise that has bothered him over the last 4+ years, which is why I guess he's handing Trump some extra troops to help him out in his deployment. So this deployment was met with immediate backlash, of course, by Democratic Governor J.B. Pritzker and Democratic Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson, black man, for what it's worth. They condemned it as unconstitutional. They filed lawsuits. They issued executive orders banning ICE from using property. We talked about this last week. So ICE can't use schools. They can't use parks as staging grounds. In other words, all these troops can't hang out at a school. They can't hang out at a park. Brandon Johnson is basically trying to make it as hard as possible and as inconvenient as possible for these National Guard troops to be comfortable while actually doing the job of getting criminals or illegal aliens out of Chicago and out of Illinois. So if you just think about this, we just take a step back, understand what's happening here. The Republican president and a Republican governor from Texas are sending troops into Illinois, which is Democratic run, trying to help Illinois, ostensibly, trying to help Illinois attack crime and get undocumented people out of their state. And the Democrat governor and mayor of Illinois and Chicago, respectively, are fighting to stop them from being able to do that. Let me take a sip of water while you just digest what I just said. This is why you can't trust politicians, because this is what they're spending their time on your dime doing. They're trying to fight crime and get undocumented people out of the state, and the people who run the state are trying to stop them from doing it. That just sounds ridiculous. Like, this is a clown show. The fact that this is even happening. Now, a federal judge did not immediately block the deployment, even though the Democrats tried to have that happen. So there'll be further hearings. This is all going to play out in court. Now, troops arrived in a place called Elwood, Illinois. That's outside of the city. So Brandon Johnson doesn't have what's the word I'm looking for? I forgot the word. But Brandon Johnson can't make a call in Elwood, Illinois. And preparations for fencing and staging have been visible. So they're already getting this stuff underway. And the administration claims that the mission is to protect federal agents and property during heightened protests and ICE raids, also known as Operation Midway Blitz. We talked about that last week. Now, critics warn this is a dangerous escalation. Of course, that's what they say about anything Donald Trump says or does. Whatever he's doing is some type of dangerous escalation. They're using military force in U.S. cities over local objections. That's the conflict here. So the local people are saying don't do it, i.e. the governor and the mayor, whereas the federal people are saying we're going to do it, i.e. the president and his National Guard. Now, this is potentially bypassing state sovereignty. Well, we just talked about that. Civil liberties and due process. Again, these same terms you keep hearing over and over and over again. That's what we're going to discuss here today. For those of you who don't, let me introduce myself. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Dre Baldwin. Many know me as Dre all day. I'm a former 9-year pro athlete, author of a few books, done a few TED Talks. I run this company called Work on Your Game Incorporated. Our job over here is to help you with the 85% of communication that is nonverbal, such that your work is done before you say a word, before you lift a finger. You already have people's cooperation. You already have their trust. You already have them knowing you. You already have them liking you. If you have all of that done before you say anything, then you speak and you confirm it. That makes your job that much easier. A lot of people think that's what happens at the end of the game. This is what happens at the beginning of the game. You want to learn more about that? Text the word power to the number that you see in my bio or the pinned number that you see in the chat if you are watching on any app other than TikTok. TikTok, I can't pin the comment and leave it there, but all the other apps I can. So any other app you're watching this on, text me. My number is 305-384-6894. Text the word power, and I'll tell you more about that program that is our flagship program. Or if you just want to get links to all the books that I give away for free, text me the word LIVE, L-I-V-E. That number again, 305-384-6894. I will mention that again at the end of this. So I'm going to go through my points, then we'll get into the comments. So the federal duty to protect. The administration, this is Trump, they argue that federal agents are performing lawful immigration enforcement in Chicago, and they need protection. And local orders are banning ICE access to city property, which is hindering their ability to actually do their job and operate. So the federal authorities are saying, hey, we're actually doing something that is legal under the law. We're trying to find people who are here without proper documentation. This is Tom Homan, Kristi Noem, etc. This is ICE, Department of Homeland Security. And the mayor in Chicago and J.B. Pritzker, the governor of Illinois, they're doing everything in their power to stop Trump from doing this. This is, again, it's political theater. They're doing this stuff for show. And they're not working together, which makes it even harder to catch the criminals in it. And, of course, they're going to frame this as looking terrible and inhumane when they do finally catch somebody. But when federal functions get targeted, federal law says the U.S. must ensure a safe execution. The bottom line here for J.B. Pritzker and Brandon Johnson is that they're going to have to play victim because they don't have the power to win the struggle. That's what this is going to come down to. Whether you like Trump or not, the bottom line is power is power. Now, people say knowledge is power or money is power. That's all nonsense. Power is power. Donald Trump has more power than J.B. Pritzker and Brandon Johnson put together. They do have sovereignty over they have say over what happens in their local municipalities. But if the federal government can come up with a reason or an excuse, depending on how you want to frame it, for why the federal government can supersede their power, they will. And they'll just supersede it, and that's pretty much it. So J.B. Pritzker and Brandon Johnson are playing politics as far as I'm concerned. And when I say playing politics, what I mean is because they're Democrats and the president's Republican, they're trying to stop this from happening. If the president was Democrat, they would not be doing this. They would not be trying to stop this. This would be happening and wouldn't even be a news story. And we'd be talking about something else right now. Now, the state and local consent have been ignored, as I just explained. They argue that sending troops over the objections of local elected officials is violating norms of federalism, and it sets a new precedent for military deployment without clearance. I say, well, first of all, anything you say Donald Trump is doing that is violating norms of federalism, I say, yeah, exactly. I mean, that's kind of the reason why he's here. It's kind of the reason why America voted for this guy twice, and he's won 3 nominations of the Republican Party, is because he's violating the norms. People don't want politics as usual. I thought we already established this and accepted this as the reality. Do we want politics as usual? I think all of us agree. No, we don't. We don't want politics as usual. So this violating of norms, good. No, most people don't trust politicians, even though you may like certain politicians. Maybe you want politicians to do right by you. Most people do not trust politicians because politicians are by design in the United States of America. If you're going to be a federal politician, you must be a liar. Actually, you're going to be a local politician, you got to be a liar. Maybe at the city council level, maybe you can tell the truth. But as soon as you get up to around mayor and up, even at the local level, you got to be a liar. Mayor, governor, attorney general, all these people are liars. By design, they are liars. Not by definition, but by design, they're liars. What do I mean by this? I'll explain this for the 230th time. To win an election in the United States of America, from mayor on up, that's a lot of people you got to get to vote for you. You have to speak to the desires of the masses. The reality is, desires of the masses, which is mostly controlled by average people, most people are average by definition, they want things done for them that they're not going to do for themselves. And the next reality, to follow that reality, is that there are not enough resources to do all the things for people that they won't take ownership over and initiative to do for themselves. There's not enough resources. So no matter what a mayor says, if the mayor was to tell the truth, hey, we don't have enough resources to do, y'all got 18 things that you all want. Let's say I'm running for mayor of Miami. I say, there's 18 things that you as the masses want. In order for me to win this election, I got to tell you I'm going to do all 18 of these things. The reality is, if I tell you that, I'll be lying to you because we only had the resources to do about 10 of these. So out of the 18, we can only pick 10. The other 8 are not happening. So I'm going to pick the 10. If y'all vote for me, I'm going to pick the 10 out of the 18 that we're going to actually get done. We'll get the 10 done. The other 8, tough shit. We can't get those done. We don't have enough money, not enough time, not enough people. We can't get it done. That's what it is. As soon as I say that, there's no way I'm winning an election. So in order to win an election, you must act like you're going to do all 18, even though you only had the resources to do 10, or at least the resources to try to do 10. And the person who wins is the person who claimed they're going to do all 18, even though there is logically and logistically no possible way they could do all 18 things. Now you take the governor, multiply that 18, that becomes 37. You take somebody running for Congress, that becomes 73 things. You multiply that, if it's the president, that becomes 165 things. The whole point is, there's no way you can do all the things that the masses of people want done for them that they won't take ownership of themselves. And you can't preach to them that they need to take ownership of their own shit and take care of themselves and take initiative for their own lives, which is actually what will make people better. But nobody wants to hear that if you're running for a political office, because a lot of people have this false idea that politics is designed to help you and do something for you. No, it is not. Politics is designed to protect your rights and otherwise stay out of your way. And stay out of your way so that you can take care of yourself. The masses of people don't want to hear that shit, which is why somebody like me, if I was to actually tell you what I really think, would never win a political election. Now, if I tell you some bullshit, I can win because I understand the game, but I don't like lying for a living. This is one of the reasons why I would not get into politics, because I would have to lie for a living. I would have to keep lying. Even after I win, I got to keep lying because I'm not going to get anything done if I tell the truth. Even once I'm in office, if I want someone to cooperate with me, I got to lie to them. If I want to get some money, I got to lie to those people. I go speak at a church, I got to lie to them. I go talk to the media. Media wants to ask me questions for 20 minutes. I got to lie to them. If I told the truth, everybody would hate me. And it would have been a waste of time me getting into politics in the first place. So I'm saying all this to say, all these people are liars. And if someone is not a career politician, they might be telling the truth. But even then, they still got to lie too to get things done. Donald Trump got to lie too. He's not a career politician. He doesn't have to lie as much if he doesn't want to. But if he wants to get more things done, he got to tell more lies. That's the way it works. So all of you who ever see a politician lying and you wonder why the politician is lying, I'll just explain to you why they lie. All right, they have to lie to get things done. Telling the truth doesn't work in politics. So, and they all claim they're telling the truth when they're actually lying. So these calls of invasion and legal challenges are just highlighting the conflict, and we know the Democrats are going to call this an invasion. I titled it an invasion because I know it's going to get some people to listen to what I have to say here. Do I believe it's an invasion? Well, it depends on how you choose to look at the word invasion. Are they invading? Technically, kind of, sort of, they're invading. They're invading, meaning they weren't invited, but they showed up anyway. So technically that could be an invasion. But at the same time, if you're fighting crime, let's say there's some criminals in the house next door to you and the cops break down the door and go arrest the criminals. Is that an invasion, or is it the cops doing their job? It depends on the way you want to look at it. So you could frame it one way or another and call it whatever you want. So is this an invasion? Technically, yes, but also at the same time, no, if you believe that what they're doing is what they say they're doing. So it just depends on the way you want to frame it. And again, this is the reason why the media exists. Democrat versus Republican, my framing versus your framing. Whoever wins the framing battle basically, quote unquote, wins the headlines. And the person who's been winning the framing battle for the last 10 years is our current president named Donald J. Trump. He's been winning the framing battle for 10 years which is why anytime I'm talking politics here, almost all the time, it has something to do with Donald Trump. Why? Because he controls the frame. And the thing that most of you pay attention to when it comes to politics these days usually has something to do with that man. So that's the reason why I'm talking about it. All right. So I'm basically selling to the buyers. I'm preaching to the choir. And the choir is people who have an opinion or they have something they want to say or something they want to hear with regards to Donald Trump, whether it be positive or negative, it doesn't matter. Just the fact that he's involved in it makes it news. And again, don't blame me for this. Blame yourselves, because if y'all didn't care so much about Donald Trump, I wouldn't be fucking talking about him. Anyway, the visual deterrent. A publicly visible guard presence can discourage attacks on federal agents or property. And that's the reason why the National Guard troops are showing up. And it can reinforce the law in high tension zones. So this becomes a chicken or egg issue between the Democrats and Republicans. So the Democrats are saying the reason that there's tension in Chicago right now is not because of our crime rate, not because of the murders. It's not because we have people here who are doing crime or we have people here who are undocumented. That's not the reason. The reason there's tension in Chicago, if I'm Mayor Brandon Johnson, my frame that I'm going to try to hold is there's tension here because Donald Trump is invading our city and sending troops here and making our people feel unsafe. That's the frame that Mayor Brandon Johnson is using. I do not agree with this frame, but there's a lot of people who do. Donald Trump's frame, or the Trump administration's frame, is there's crime happening in Chicago. There are illegals in Chicago. There are citizens who are doing crime in Chicago, and the people who run Chicago / Illinois, they don't have the resources or the wherewithal or the skills to solve their problem on their own. So and we tried to help them in a way that was, we were working together. They didn't want to take our help. So we're going to help them anyway, even though they don't want our help. We're going to force feed them our help. And we're going to resolve the tension by getting rid of the criminals. We get rid of the criminals, then there will be less tension because the criminals are the ones creating the tension. And these idiots, the mayor and the governor over there in Chicago, Illinois, they can't solve the problem themselves. So we're going to help the citizens out by solving their problem for them. And that will relieve the tension. So the Democrats are saying, you all trying to help us, or quote unquote invading us, you are creating the tension. And the Republicans are saying, we are resolving the tension by coming in and helping you when you're too dumb to accept our help that you obviously need because you are not capable of solving it yourself. So what does this come down to? Well, who do you believe? Who do you believe? Give me in the comments who you believe, the Democrats or the Republicans in this situation. Who do you believe? Because it's just two different frames. It's not even a matter of what's happening. We all know what's happening. National Guard is in Chicago. We know that's happening. Question is, which one do you believe? The Democrats who say the Republicans are causing the problem, or the Republicans who say, well, you idiots not solving the problem is why there is a problem, so we got to fix it because y'all are too dumb to fix it yourselves. Who do you believe, Democrats or the Republicans? So I'm seeing a bunch of Republicans. I'm seeing a couple of Democrats in here. And some Democrats, some Republicans, some Democrats. Brian Miller said, I believe the citizens of the community. Okay, so what are the citizens saying? Cedric said, you can't always be in the middle. Are you talking about me or are you talking about you? Personally, the side that I'm on the side of logic and objectivity. So I'm logically and objectively explaining to you all what's happening. I don't live in Chicago, but if I did, and if I believe there's a lot of criminals that are not being addressed by the local authorities, then I would be happy to see the National Guard in there. But if I don't believe there's a lot of criminals that need to be addressed by the local that are not being addressed by local authorities, then I don't want the National Guard there. So again, it depends on your perspective. It depends on your frame. So that's why I'm asking, who do you believe? Democrats or the Republicans? That's what I'm asking. So let me see. Okay, so all right, we'll get to the comments later. I don't have time to read all those comments, but we'll get to it in a second. That is the frame battle that's happening right now. So the optics of armed troops walking around neighborhoods could intimidate civilians. That I agree with. If I looked out my window, I see armed troops just walking around like normal in my town, then I might, what the hell is going on? That might make me think twice about going outside or doing anything if I see armed troops walking around. Because when I see armed troops, the image that I get is just some type of war going on. We're in our city. Will reveal us over there on Instagram. I see you. So this can create an imagery that doesn't look good for citizens. And some say that this is especially heightened in minority communities and may provoke unrest rather than calm. Well, first of all, I don't think the fact there's a minority community has anything to do with it. Because if you're a minority living in the United States, I'm black, I've lived in America my entire life. If I see military walking outside, how does that make me feel any different than a white person would feel if they saw it? What's the difference? You lived in America your whole life. We haven't had a war being fought on our turf in my lifetime. So why would a minority community feel any worse than a white community would feel about something like this? I don't think it makes a difference. I think people throw in the minority part just to add emotional weight to it. But if you logically think about it, what difference does it make? I say it makes no difference because I've not been in the war zone in the black neighborhood. You ain't been in the war zone in the white neighborhood. Again, I would feel the same way you would feel. Why are there troops walking around my neighborhood? What the hell is going on? Is there a war? Are they going after somebody? Or should I stay in the house? What's happening? So again, the minority thing is just something that they throw out there. And they say it may provoke unrest rather than calm. Well, maybe there's already unrest. See, this is all a framing battle. I'm trying to help you all understand the framing that this is what the media is all about. They just frame the situation in a certain way. Even if the frame is complete nonsense and complete bullshit, they will take the frame that they made up and then they'll make the whole conversation about that frame. And you may find yourself arguing on something that's not even real because they established the frame in your head. And this is what the media does. And then when someone comes along, they're able to control that frame very well. They can start dictating the media. This is what Donald Trump has done for the last 10 years. He has dictated the media. And the issue is usually politicians get reactive when media is throwing negative things at them so that the media is basically controlling what the politician does and says. Or the politician has to play within these narrow bounds so as not to get on the wrong side of the media because they don't want negative headlines. Donald Trump, on the other hand, is immune to this idea. He gets negative headlines. It provides fuel for his fire. And he uses it against the media, and he has undermined the credibility of the media for the last 10 years. Fake news. Now you have TikTokers and YouTubers and Instagrammers and podcasters and independent media are getting more juice for their content than the traditional media is because Donald Trump's completely undermined them because the same playbook that they use on most politicians, it backfired and worked against them when it came to Donald Trump. The whole point is he's very good at controlling the frame. Now, what the media still tries to do, though, since they are still roughly about half the country is not in support of Donald Trump, at least the voting Americans are not in support of Donald Trump, they still create a negative frame around him. The issue is he doesn't get reactive to the frame in a way that gives them power. He gets reactive to the frame in a way that gives him power. So that's the thing that changed. That's the only difference between what they would do to the normal politician and what they can do to Donald Trump. Now, critics compare these operations to paramilitary or authoritarian tactics, which is complete bullshit. Why is this a bullshit frame? Because most critics in the United States talking about this have never lived anywhere where there was some type of paramilitary operation or even authoritarian tactics even happening. So the only frame of reference everybody has is to go back 100 years to damn Germany and Hitler. Like, really? That's what you came up with? What the hell do you know about that? And some of you are in here right now. Some of you probably in the comments right now. What do you know about that? What do you know about living in a place where there's paramilitary operations or an authoritarian regime? What do you know about that? Where have you lived where that happened? And for for all Americans, the answer is never. Never have you lived through that. Nowhere in America have you seen that. That's never happened, and is not going to happen. At least I don't think in our lifetimes is that going to happen. Yes, people can get you excited about Trump's going to do this, and he's never going to lead the White House, and he's going to try to become a king. And yeah, we know, Oprah. We know, Kamala. We heard you. And nobody voted for you. All right, you still lost the election. All right, this is nonsense. An authoritarian regime. He's going to be a dictator from day one. Remember that one? All of these things. People create these false frames. And I think about 30 to 40% of people saying this know that what they're saying is some stupid shit. They know that they're saying something dumb, but they say it anyway because their Trump derangement syndrome overpowers their logic. But if you got them to calm down, they would admit that they know it's some bullshit. They're just saying it. I think, however, about 60 to 70% of people really believe it. I think about 60 to 70% of people who are not Trump fans really believe that this is the start of fascism and there's going to be an authoritarian regime and he will refuse to leave the White House and he's going to try to make himself a ruler forever and he's never going to leave the throne of the United States of America and he will use the military to block himself from being removed from office by the time that his term is up in January 2029. I think 60 to 70% of people actually believe that that's true. is not true, but I think a lot of people believe it. And why do people believe this? It's because of subconscious programming. The way the subconscious mind works is one way to program the subconscious mind is through repetition. Another way is through immersion, and another way is through emotionalization. And when it comes to Trump and the famed TDS, known as Trump derangement syndrome, all you had to do is keep repeating the same emotionally triggering talking points over and over and over again for 10 years, and people will eventually accept it as reality. That's the way the subconscious mind works. Tell yourself anything over and over again, even if it's a lie, you will eventually accept it as true. You will live out what you have accepted to believe. That's the way hypnotism works as well. Hypnotism allegedly works faster, but it's the same thing. Programming the subconscious mind through repetition, emotionalization, and immersion. So if you are only listening to people who think how you think, and they're giving you emotionally charged talking points, and you hear them every single day on social media and read them every day on social media, eventually you're going to believe this must be the truth. And here we are. So these people believe that Donald Trump is going to, I don't know what they think he's actually going to do, but he's a fascist, he's authoritarian, he's going to take over the government, he's going to refuse to leave, et cetera, et cetera. We heard Chicken Little, the sky is falling down. All right, this is what they've said. Again, logically, this makes no sense. Nobody could logically explain how this makes any sense. All they can do is list the talking points. It's known as the Gish-Gallop logical fallacy, where someone just lists a whole bunch of things and they try to overwhelm you with the quote-unquote facts to the point that you can't respond to everything that they said. So that makes it look like they won when they actually aren't really saying anything. This is the only thing people have. The only argument people have to support this bullshit frame is just to list a whole bunch of things that they've heard and they've said over and over again so many times that they can recite it verbatim off the top of their heads. But it's nonsense. Now, there's an act called the Posse Comitatus Act that limits the use of active duty troops and domestic law enforcement. But National Guard units under Title 32 or federalized status can be used with legal authority. And this is why this is going to become more of a legal battle than it has anything to do with boots on the ground. So the administration probably structured their deployment to avoid these violations. And this is where it becomes a legal thing, and we don't need to get into the weeds of that. Now, what exactly these troops can actually do? Can the troops patrol? Can they arrest? Can they detain? It becomes very murky because it raises limits on rules of engagement, liability, and civil rights. So all the people who end up getting arrested, detained, brought in under this deployment, they all can, if they get a lawyer, and everybody's entitled to a lawyer in the United States of America when you go to court, their lawyers are all going to try as many things as a lawyer is supposed to try. The lawyer's job is to try every possible route to getting their client what the client wants, which usually is, if you're the suspect, usually you want to be free, you want to be back in America, you want to be, have nothing on your record. Ideally, that's the outcome. These lawyers are going to try everything, such as, hey, maybe they arrested me under false pretenses, or they arrested me wrongfully, or they violated my rights, or I wasn't granted due process. So even if you did actually do something that you should have been arrested for, if the cops didn't do it the right way, or the troops didn't do it the right way, you can end up getting off just on a technicality. And again, this is a lawyer's job. This is a lawyer's job, is to try to get you off on whatever way they can get you off, even if it means a technicality. Let's do it. So opponents demand this clear delineation of what support means. So again, Trump administration says they're supporting Chicago, and Chicago's administration says you're not supporting us, you're terrorizing us, you're invading us, and you're not helping us. So when they say supporting Chicago, I think they're talking about the citizens, and the mayor is talking about, well, y'all are not doing things by our way. So it really comes down to, and this is something that I talked about last week, Chicago, why did y'all elect this guy? Anybody have an answer to that? Anybody who lives in Chicago, why did this guy, Brandon Johnson, get elected? Can anybody answer the question? And before that, y'all had Lori Lightfoot. Why did she get elected? What are y'all doing in Chicago? These people do not seem very capable politicians, but Chicago is a big city, and they're winning elections. So they're doing something. How are they winning these elections? And why is Chicago choosing these mayors? That's the question that I'm really asking. And I know that maybe on the last day of the election day, you're down to two candidates, but how do they even get all the way up? How do they work their way through to where they're the candidate that you end up choosing? How does this happen? I really want to know. How is this happening in Chicago? How are these people getting chosen? Somebody said cheating. Another person said because they're black. There's a lot of black people. Why are they choosing these folks? And why are they playing this game? That's another thing. Why are they playing this game? Because Brandon Johnson was on some show. He's been asked about this. He's gotten a lot of media mileage out of this. And he was being asked, hey, well, of course he's going through his talking points. Trump is invading and doing terrible things, etc. Then someone's asking him, well, hey, isn't there actually a crime issue in Chicago that needs to be addressed? What about that? And what he said, paraphrasing, his answer was, well, Donald Trump could probably help us out with our housing issue and our food issue rather than just trying to arrest criminals. That was his answer. His dodge was, instead of actually trying to arrest criminals, what you want to do instead is we just need to have more housing and we need to have more food and more resources for the people in general. And he didn't say this in so many words, but he's probably said it at some point. I didn't hear it. What he's alluding to is, well, if we just had more resources, there'd probably be less crime because the criminals then wouldn't need to do crime. I say this is bullshit. I say if you're an adult and you're over the age of 18, especially if you're over the age of 18, but actually you could be under, and this could also be true, you know what a crime is. You know when you're stealing something from the store that you're stealing, right? You could be poor, hungry, broke, homeless. If you steal something from Walgreens, you know that you're stealing. Okay. Everybody want to co-sign that? Can I get a co-sign from the audience? Even if you're poor, hungry, broke, homeless, and every other thing, negative thing, if you steal something, you know that you're stealing. If you rob somebody, you know that that's a crime. If you go and get violent with someone, you know that that's a crime. So just because you don't have a place to live does not mean you are mentally incapable of understanding that you're breaking the law. Now, some may say, well, people break the law, Dre, because they don't see any other option for themselves. So they break the law. So they go do something, just give themselves a chance. I can understand that on some level. At the same time, I would say to that same person, okay, you gave yourself a chance, and the chance you took, you ended up losing. That's why you got arrested. Now, that's the way it works. This is the game. And Brandon Johnson saying, well, they can help us out by giving resources. Well, the last time I checked, people who have houses still commit crimes. There are people who have food, clothing, shelter who still do crime. All right, they still shoot people. They come out of their house, and they shoot somebody. They go to the store, steal something, and take it back to their home. They steal even though they got food. So just because you committed a crime, first of all, and this is something that I've heard Mrs. Crockett talking about, sounding stupid, but sounding like a Brandon Johnson level politician. And that's who these folks are. Because people are asking me, a lot of people are asking me in the comments what I think about her, Crockett. She's in the same lane as Cori Bush, same lane as Jamal Bowman, both of who got voted out last cycle. Same lane as Brandon Johnson, at least what he sounds like he's in. Same lane as Lori Lightfoot. They're all in the same lane. They're black politicians who play the race card as their main card. 80% of what they talk about is the race card. And they have bought into these democratic ideas that committing crime is somehow is not a black and white thing. That's what they try to turn this into. Committing crime is not a black and white thing. That I heard Jasmine Crockett say something along the lines of, did y'all see this? That just because you commit a crime, you're not a criminal. Y'all heard her saying some stupid shit like this? All right, this kind of stuff hurts, first of all, the black community because these people are supposed to be successful. You're making black people look stupid to people who may not have much interaction with black people, first of all, because you're a representative. Secondly, you're giving excuses to black people who are committing the crimes because these politicians saying that a person who commits crime is not a criminal. They're not talking about white criminals. They're talking about black people because you're black. So you're going to be associated just because you're black. So it's giving black people an excuse to do something that's going to hurt them in the long run. Because just because Jasmine Crockett or Cori Bush or Brandon Johnson said, well, just because you committed a crime doesn't mean you're a criminal and they're talking on CNN. That's not going to change the fact you still got to go in front of a fucking judge and you might get 6 months probation or 6 months in the county for your stupid behavior. All right, that's not helping. So it's giving black people an excuse to think that they're going to get away with something that they're not going to get away with, that you might even end up losing your life in the process of and losing your well-being. You might not be able to move back into your apartment with your kids. And now it creates a whole other cascade of issues in the black community. And this is just this continuing thing with the Democrats that they've decided that anything the Republicans do, they're just going to counter that. So the Republicans say law and order and no crime, and we're going to arrest criminals. They say, well, crime is not that bad and law and order is not this thing that we need. And just because somebody committed a crime doesn't mean that they're a criminal. All right, this is stupid. On some level, even if you are a Democrat, even if you're anti-Trump, you still have to be able to acknowledge logic. acknowledge that something makes sense. Yes, it makes sense that if you commit a crime, you should be arrested. Just because Donald Trump said it does not mean as a Democrat you have to go against it. This doesn't make any sense. It's not helping the people. It may be helping you win some points and get a few extra 15-minute segments on TV, but is that actually helping the people who you're supposed to be serving? And this is, again, for the 10,000th time, why I keep telling you all not to trust politicians. They're not in the game of helping you. And even if some of you believe or you want politicians to help you, that's not their priority. That might be your priority. When you think about politicians, is that your priority is you want them to help you and you measure them by how much they're helping you. That's not their priority. Their priority is themselves. And you are just collateral damage. And if you happen to get success in the process or you happen to win in the process, all right, great, but that wasn't the aim. Now, judicial breathing room here. A judge declined an emergency restraining order. So the Democrats tried to block this. They failed to block it. So right now the deployment can proceed. So legal structures are back into short-term action for now. Now, courts are eventually going to play the deciding role. We'll see where this goes. Now, the legal challenges. The suits argue that deployment is unconstitutional. They argue that it's politically motivated and it's an abuse of power. We could look at all three of these and say that it actually is constitutional, that even if it may be politically motivated, crime is crime. So if I think you got a lot of crime, so what if it's politically motivated? Crime is crime. Crime is politically motivated. The crime itself is politics. Is it an abuse of power? I don't think so. Because the president was elected. Same way the mayor and the governor are elected, the president is elected. So this is what the people wanted. So future rulings may curb or invalidate the mission. Maybe. I think the Trump administration is going to get in and do what they can do in the time that they have. Now, the political messaging here, we've been talking about this already. So this is more reinforcement of Donald Trump's law and order image, resolve in enforcing federal laws against these quote unquote sanctuary cities. And this is a politically charged moment. Does this symbolism carry weight? Yes, it shows that Donald Trump will actually do the shit that he said he was going to do, whether you like it or not. Even if you don't like it, one thing that I think everyone can agree is that when Donald Trump threatens that he might do something, he might actually do it. This is the reason why he controls the news cycle the way that he does. He's not just talking. He's not Barack Obama. Barack Obama did a whole lot of speaking, very eloquently, but there was not a lot of bite behind his bark. When Donald Trump barks, people know that he might actually follow through on the stuff that he says. He doesn't do everything that he says. A lot of times he says stuff just to get people excited. It's rabble, what do they call it? Saber rattling. Just getting people excited, shaking the cage just to get you to notice what he's paying attention to. And that often is enough. He doesn't have to do anything. But then if people don't actually follow through on what he's saying, then he might actually do it. Because a month or two ago, he was talking about, I might have to send the National Guard into Chicago. And then all the politicians came out making statements against Trump. And here we are, a month later, he sent the National Guard into Chicago. So people know that when he says something, he might actually do it. Now, the blowback here, voters and critics may say this is an overreach, a power grab, militarizing domestic policies, especially in cities with histories of racial tension. Again, racial tension for what? Racial tension for the cops? But these ain't cops. These are military troops. There's no history of racial tension between military troops and black people, not on the level that, at least when people talk about the cops. Maybe military troops on way back in the day, civil rights era. But most of the people alive today under the age of 50, not really. So again, this is people using race as an emotional multiplier. That's what they're doing. So they say this could erode trust in the government and galvanize opposition. What opposition? What kind of opposition? The Democratic Party? Okay. Cool story, bro. What are they going to do? They got to win the 2026 midterms, first of all. Then they had to win the White House in 2028. And who's their candidate? Kamala Harris? Cool story. All right. Y'all better hope it's not Kamala Harris. It'll be 4 more years of MAGA, whoever that's going to be. Now, this deployment may set a template for federal operations in cities like Portland, LA, or DC. And LA is going to fight hard because Gavin Newsom is making a lot of noise right now. He has a big megaphone. And maybe it could be tougher enforcement. Now, other municipal leaders are watching this to see what happens, especially Democratic leaders, because they're trying to see what they can get away with. This is going to be the precedent. If there is some legal ruling where a judge blocks this in Illinois, then that same ruling is going to be used as precedent if Trump tries to send people into some other Democrat-run city with a Democrat governor of the state, and they want to stop it. All they'll do is point to what happened in Illinois. Now, if Trump is able to push through and do his thing in Chicago, and then he decides to go to another Democrat-run city and state, they'll point to the same thing and say, hey, we did it over here. What's the difference? So how it ends up working out in court does play a big role because it determines what actually happens on the ground. So we'll see. Now, if abuses occur, such as people getting arrested by mistake, any overreach in surveillance, or any misuse of force, the consequences to constitutional rights could be serious, i.e. the government can get sued, and y'all know the stuff. People coming on TV saying I was done wrong by ICE, et cetera, et cetera. And that could lead to future lawsuits. Thing is, lawsuits based on missteps and civil rights violations. The thing is, anybody can sue anybody in America. This is the most litigious society in America. We have more lawyers per capita in the United States of America than there is anywhere in the world by far, because you can sue anybody in the United States of America. Anyone can sue anyone for any reason or for no reason at all. Doesn't mean your suit's going to go through. Does not mean you're going to win. Your suit could even get thrown out, and it costs money to file a lawsuit. But you can legally file a lawsuit for damn near anything. So the fact that people can claim civil liberty violations, yeah, you can claim it. Can you prove it? Is the actual question. It's not whether or not you can claim it. The question is if you can prove it. Now, does the resistance matter? Brandon Johnson's executive order, state lawsuits, public protests show that local pushback is strong and it may slow or constrain operations. I say I don't think so. I think there are citizens in Chicago, not I think, I know because I've seen the videos, citizens in Chicago who say, I'm glad Donald Trump is sending National Guard in here because there are criminals here in our town and they're not being stopped, and we need it stopped and we need something to happen. And there's a lot of people in the neighborhood who are more willing to say these kind of things now than they were 5 or 8 or 10 years ago, to say anything that sounds like it's neutral or positive towards Donald Trump, because the tide has turned on him, especially after the 2024 election. I believe there are a lot more Black Americans who are in favor of what Donald Trump is about with regard to the alternative, which would have been Joe Biden and or Kamala Harris. I think there are a lot more Black Americans because the argument here that Brandon Johnson tries to use as a Black man himself is the racial argument. He tries to play the race card. He doesn't do it as blatantly as the other cheap level politicians, but he is one. But he doesn't use it as blatantly. Is that Black people are going to go against anything Donald Trump. And that worked for a while. Letitia James, Alvin Bragg, Fannie Willis, Kamala Harris, Joe Biden. It worked for a while, but it's not going to keep working. It's not working as much anymore. It's slowly not working anymore. So there are Black people who are coming out and saying, hey, there's a crime issue in Chicago, and we do want it addressed. However, it needs to be addressed. If that means Donald Trump got to come in and do something, Donald Trump needs to come in and do something. But we want the issue addressed. We want the issue addressed. And Brandon Johnson he can't keep coming with this. He's got to come with something better than this. The issue is, for those of you who are Chicagoans, is I don't know what do you have to force Brandon Johnson to change his tone? I'm not sure you have anything. What you going to do? Vote in somebody else? Like who? You voted out Lori Lightfoot, but you voted him in. So I don't know if y'all got many options over there in Chicago. Good luck to y'all. Maybe you need Zoran Mandani to come in there and fix things. Now, long-term trust damage. Even if the operations go well in Chicago, communities may grow hostile to law enforcement. And again, this is a common frame that keeps getting used in the Black community, and I wish people would stop using this. And they will see the National Guard as occupiers and not protectors. I don't think so. If you're a law-abiding citizen, you don't mind seeing police, generally speaking. Now, there are some who may push back on that, but I'll say it for myself. As a law-abiding citizen, I don't mind seeing cops. I don't mind there being cops on the corner. I'm not worried about the cops' presence because I'm not committing a crime. I see police, hey, how you doing? Good morning. And I keep moving. They're not going to do anything to me because I'm not committing a crime. I'm not doing anything to draw attention to police. So even if the operations, where's my phone ringing? Oops. All right. My sound still good on TikTok? I don't know why I didn't have on Do Not Disturb. But even if the operations go well in Chicago, the frame that a lot of Black folks are going to try to use is that this may lead to hostility between law enforcement and everyone else. And I say, no, I don't think so. Again, this is a common refrain used in minority communities that there is this underlying tension always between Black people and the cops. The only tension between Black people and the cops Yes, in some neighborhoods, do the cops over police because they are deployed there because there's crime happening there? Does this happen? Yes, it does. At the same time, most law-abiding citizens don't have a problem with the cops because the cops ain't bothering you. The cops are only looking at the people who are committing crimes, or you are doing something that fits the description of people who do commit crimes. If you look the part, then people may assume that something is happening. Same way that people may assume something about a cop, cops assume something about you. This is the game. This is human nature. People judge. People make snap judgments based on the way you present yourself. Is this a real thing? Yes, it is. All of you know is a real thing. Don't try to get righteous about it just because the cops are. It applies in every aspect of life. You do it to other people do it to you, and cops are people. So these lasting civic consequences may outweigh short gains. I say this is bullshit. There are no lasting civic consequences. There are no lasting civic consequences. If you are committing crime in Chicago, actually, let me back up. If you're a citizen, a law-abiding citizen living in Chicago, and there's crime happening there, and you know that the cops are not doing enough to fix the crime, what the hell are you going to do? You're just sitting there helpless. You either can move out of Chicago or move out of your neighborhood. And if you can't do that, then you will hope somebody comes in and does something to these criminals. Well, the National Guard is coming in here to do something to the criminals. So I just don't like this. I don't like the whole argument of what Brandon Johnson is doing, which is going over top of the question and not even addressing the actual things happening there. Rather, he's trying to make it about Donald Trump and make it about, well, we need more resources. Well, the resource you need is money to pay cops, so you have more cops, put cops on every corner and solve the crime issue. He doesn't want to address that because he knows he's going to look bad if he addresses the topic. So he's avoiding the topic completely. That's the part y'all should understand. He's avoiding the topic completely because he looks bad on the topic. So let's just not even talk about it. Let's shift the goalposts and make it about something other than the thing that is why Donald Trump is showing up in the first place. So again, this is why this is a framing debate. Donald Trump is saying there's crime in Chicago. Let me go fix it. Brandon Johnson is saying, let's not talk about the crime in Chicago. Let's talk about something else. If I'm living in Chicago, I'm like, how the hell are you the mayor and you don't want to talk about the crime in Chicago? That's the way I see it. Maybe some of you see it differently, but let's get to it. Let me open up my soundboard in a moment. 1 second. Yes, open up my soundboard and we will get to the comments. Those of you who know my soundboard, these are sounds that I use for responding to some of the nonsensical comments that come in here, some of the good ones. If you leave a good comment, I don't do that on every good comment, but if you leave a good comment, you might hear that. And then we got a bunch of others, and y'all hear those in a second. I'm sure I'll have plenty of reason to use them in a moment. So let's get into the comments here. Rel Senior 702, good morning, sir. Good to see you in here. All right, let's see what we got here in the comments. I'm reading from oldest to newest, folks, so I'm not ignoring your comment. I'm just looking at the oldest comments first, and I try to catch up to the newest ones. Unapologetically Me said, act as a reasonable adult people. Yes, the addict said, I co-sign. Thank you. Nathan Don said, you definitely know. Donald Hardison said, it's really unfortunate that serious words have been abused with narrative without truth. Well, this is how life works. I mean, this is how it goes. CW says confluence. Is that the word? TTV the Alpha said, all Democrat politicians are selected by the elite Democrats and they have their people brainwashed. Well, TTV the Alpha, that's what Democrats say about Republicans. So they all say the same thing about each other. Jesse said, what is needed is lawful. Well, so far it is because the judge hasn't blocked it. So you're right about that. TG, thanks for the follow. Ken Bowie, thanks for the follow. Oscar Klug Jr. said, ask yourself, why are you praising Trump? Why would the people choose him as bad of a person that he is? Okay, so here we go. Strawberry cheesecake. Strawberry cheesecake is the sound that I play when someone uses a straw man fallacy. Straw man is the most common logical fallacy used in disagreement. So when someone takes your position, they change it into something that you did not say or a position that you don't hold, then they argue against the thing that you didn't even say as if they're making a point. And Oscar, you just did this. You said, why am I praising Trump? I didn't praise Trump. What did I say that was praising Trump? So you misrepresented my position by saying praising Trump. And then you said, why would the people choose him as bad of a person that he is, which is an emotional appeal to emotion. Emotional, damn it. So congrats to you, Oscar. You got the first double. I think we'll call this the Angel Reese Award. You got the double, the Angel Reese Award. And she happens to play for a team, WNBA team in Chicago. So congratulations to you, Oscar, on the double Angel Reese Award. Janice says, stay safe, vote red. Your children deserve a safer place to live. All right, fair enough, Janice. Nini said, MAGA forever. Vontae said, that's not true. What's not true? Memes with Music said, what percentage of black commit crimes and are homeless? That is what we call a red herring. Red herring is another logical fallacy, folks. When someone asks you a question that basically throws you off the path of what you were already talking about in a way of either getting you with a gotcha or trying to invalidate your position or just trying to change the subject to keep you off of whatever you're talking about. So memes, I don't know if you meant that in a malicious way, but it's a red herring either way, because that's the topic here is not me reading data to you. If you want to know that data, you should go on the internet and ask Google or ask ChatGPT or some AI bot about that data, and it will give it to you. So because you use the red herring, you still get this.
Have some more chicken. Have some more pie. It doesn't matter if it's boiled or fried.
Chicago Sin said, whatever you say, Sambo. No, so is that supposed to be an insult? Okay.
Is that like a personal attack or something?
And there's a little bit of, what we use there? A little bit of ridicule.
Oh, I like your funny words, Magic Man.
And you're not actually addressing anything that I said and pushing back against it. You're just using a personal attack instead of addressing the point. So you also get...
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy. Okay.
So that's an ad hominem. So you get the first triple-double, Russell Westbrook triple-double award of the day.
Oh, baby, it's triple. Oh, yeah.
Congratulations, Chicago Sin. Leah, thank you for the gifts. Janice said, we are sick of the lawlessness. Fair enough. Unapologetically me said, keep your children safe, happy, and educated. I agree with that. Simple Man Mike says, drain that swamp. Yeah, I don't think the swamp's ever going to get drained. Marky Man said, you know you're breaking the law when you jaywalk. Yeah, technically. Nathan said, come on, guys, tap the screen, let's get the likes up. Yeah, let's get the likes up. We're at 78,000, folks. Let's get to 100K. Jesse said, you know what you would be a mayor in Trump America. What? And read Jasmine Crockett. Let me read that again. Jesse, I need you to write in grammatically correct sentences. I kind of sort of getting what you say here. You know what you would be a mayor in Trump America. Now leave Jasmine Crockett out your mouth. Jesse, I don't know what grade you're in, but you got to step the spelling game up.
Have some more chicken. Have some more
or the grammar game up.
It doesn't matter if it's boiled or fried.
Not the spelling game, the grammar game. Your grammar is completely off here, Jesse. I know you may be upset as you're writing this, but calm down and type something that I can actually read. Let's see. RW said they would like to divide us with race. This is true. Lynn said they want crime to steal from our taxpayers. What do you mean? Ali Kick says, are you going to run for any office? Hell no, I'm not running for any office. Why would I leave entrepreneurship to go work for the government? That would be a bad move for me. That'd be a backwards move as far as I'm concerned. Christine says she was dumping down people. Who are you talking about? Arliss, Harley, and Jake, thank you for the shares. The original row said it's us versus the corporations and the ultra wealthy. I don't know. Maybe. Jake Richardson, thanks for the share. Nini said, we don't live in a free for all country. What do you mean by that? Simple Man Mike said, we love President Trump. Okay, fair enough. The original row said, look at what's actually happening. Well, the original row, no human can be in more than one place at a time, and we all can be shown material on the internet. So how do you know what's actually happening? That is a very, very subjective way of looking at things because all of us have a different perspective on what's actually happening. And we could both be looking at completely different things and both say that's actually happening and both be telling the truth, but have completely different ideas. And neither one of us is wrong. So what does that even mean? What you just said there doesn't really mean anything. Boston Metal said, how many stores are locking up all the items and how many stores are closing and leaving that area? I saw some store, I don't know what city it was in, they locked up the candy. I know they locked up the razors and they locked up like the deodorant and the shampoo, but then I saw a store where they locked up the candy. It was a Walgreens. and they had the candy behind the glass where you got to go ask somebody to unlock it so you can buy some candy. That's a little bit. If you got to do all that, you might as well close the store. Bonito the Bomb, thanks for the follow. Alley Kick said, neither party is to help the average person. Yes, nobody's going to help anybody. Neither party is there to help anyone. Average person, below average person, above average person. The government is not designed to help you. BB Sam said, are you under the belief that Donald Trump is not a politician? He's not a traditional career politician, is what I said. Not that he's not a politician. As soon as you get into politics, you're a politician. Earl and Turry Girl said, it's embarrassing what they say and folks actually believe it. Well, there's a reason why folks believe it. The original row said PBS and NPR defunded. Yeah, the amount of money that they get from the government is a small percentage of their overall budget. That's why they still exist, even though they were quote unquote defunded. Ishmael, thanks for the follow. Alley Kick said, why are you bashing just Democrats if you said no politicians aren't for you? Well, this is a straw man.
Strawberry cheesecake.
Number one, I'm bashing Democrats because the frame of this topic here today is about the Democrats blocking Donald Trump from coming in and addressing crime in a Democrat-run city and a Democrat-run state. So it's the idiocy of the Democrats that I'm pointing out here today. That's the frame and the topic. And no, politicians are not for anyone, me or you, Democrat nor Republican. Doesn't mean I don't have criticism for the Republicans, but it's not the topic here today. So that's why. Thank you for the question. Noah says, so what if it's politically motivated? What if it is? So doesn't mean it's not true. Jake Richardson, thanks for the share. Barbara Guerrero, thank you for the love you so much. Meg G said it's called rattling their cage. Well, Trump rattles any kind of cage. His cage, their cage, everybody's cage. The original Rose said, it gets worse every month. Literal troops in the streets. What's next? Pass, we will give next. What does he mean? What do you mean? Marky Man said, Obama's red line didn't do shit. Generally, I agree. Original Rose said, rule of law or banana republic, you choose. False binary.
Have some more chicken. Have some more pie. It doesn't matter if it's boiled or fried.
Trucking Joker, Ozzy Bethborn, thank you for the follows. Where was I? Let's see. Simple Man Mike said, Trump is not a politician, he is a king. I don't know if that's sarcasm. Ozzy said, Gavin Newsom. Loving me, thank you for the follow. Earl said, National Guards in Memphis, the streets have never been safer. Yeah, well, they cooperated. And that's why it didn't become a bigger story. Donald Hardison said, he is just speaking freely how politicians are happen to be Dems right now. Yes, exactly. Thank you. Thank you for clarifying that. Prince Maddie said, Trump has had a historical presidency. Yeah, I think it is historical. Even if you don't like him, people say it's historically bad. And people who like him say it's historically good. So the good thing about Trump is that everyone has an opinion. 2333 over there on Instagram. I see you. Good morning. Do free. Thanks for the follow. Javier said, Brazil and Israel have more lawyers per capita. That's not what I read. Dean Dangerous said, 1 million more Chicagoans say the opposite. Okay, 1 million? Okay. BB Sam says, so the administration can afford to violate civil rights because nobody can afford to fight it. That's a straw man.
Strawberry cheesecake.
What I said is some people may claim a civil rights violation. Doesn't mean it actually happened. And it's not about them not being able to afford to fight it because, first of all, the it must be proven to exist first before there's anything to fight. And what would be the civil rights violation? I mean, we all can read. So if someone says their civil rights are violated, well, tell us what happened. I mean, we're not judges, we're not the court, but tell me what actually happened when someone's going to make that claim. Donald said, most people arguing about troops did not live in affected areas. Yes, they don't, which is why they're arguing about it, because it's easy to argue about this stuff when you don't have to live with the consequences of what you're arguing about. Shukuri Mai said, that's a damn lie. You're just trying to turn people's minds. Forget it. What did I lie about? Point out my lie. Miss Lewis, thanks for the follow. Linda Lafont, thank you for the follow. The original Rose said, everything is Obama or Biden's fault. Changed my mind. You sound like one of those guys who does the debates on college campuses. Earl said, race card is so old. Well, it's an oldie but a goodie because it will continue to work. It ain't going away. Shane Speed said, I can actually walk the border of Chicago up South Side safer now than before. All right, fair enough. Popular Piece said, how do they put political pride over lives they are expecting to vote for them? Because it's all about the frame. It's not about the truth. Popular P, your question is assuming that the truth is what actually matters. The truth is not what matters in all of life, whether we're talking politics or anything else. The truth doesn't matter. Facts don't matter. What matters is persuasion and framing and what you can get people to believe and accept. You can get people to believe a lie if you make it sexy enough. Truth is not relevant, not nearly as relevant as it used to be. Shane said Cook County is too deep blue. Okay, that makes sense. But how is Brandon Johnson the best they can come up with, though? That's the part I'm trying to figure out. Dean Danger says host doesn't know shit.
Is that like a personal attack or something?
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy.
Shane, thanks for the follow. Javier said, no facts, just utter mouth spewing. Well, Javier, give us the facts. I mean, you had the time to write that comment. Just give us the facts. Dean said, have you seen the news? Well, it depends. What's news we talking? CNN, Fox, podcasts, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram? Which news you talking? There's a million different sources of news these days. So have I seen the news? Technically, yes. Have you seen the news? Technically, yes. Thing is, we could both watch 50 different news sources and never have any one in common. That's the issue with quote unquote the news or quote unquote facts these days, is that you can get 50 different facts about a situation. I can get 50 facts about the same situation and we have no cross-reference facts and the facts are completely different what you have from what I have. That's where we are when it comes to information these days. So facts or the news don't really mean anything. Again, I just told y'all what matters. Influence and getting people to believe your frame. It's not about the facts. It's not about the news. Cecil said, your politicians are committing insurrection against the federal government obstruction. Well, that's what Trump has tried to say. Susie said, don't need national military in the communities. You're not even eye contact while reading your script. Well, first of all, there's no script.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy. Okay.
I get notes from when I'm doing these. So I'm looking at my notes so I can make sure I'm telling you all the points I want to tell you on both sides. And secondly, eye contact. Well, we can't make eye contact because we're not face to face. And I got 3 different cameras on me right now. There's a camera here, there's a camera here, there's a camera here. And I'm looking at the comments, which are down here. The eye, quote unquote, is up here. So if you ever done anything like this, Susie, I doubt that you have, then you would understand it. So Perfect Collision, thank you for the follow. Dean said, crime is bad in all of Mississippi. Should they all just leave Mississippi? Is that the best you can come up with?
Strawberry cheesecake.
Fine Weinstein says, or is that Fine Weinstein or Weinstein? Says, speaking the truth gets people big mad. Well, it depends on what the truth is that you're speaking. Timothy Carswell, thanks for the follow. Trixie said he has misused taxpayers' money. Who's he? Anna said, ICE threw my 16-year-old niece to the ground in South Carolina. It's crazy what's happening. Well, Anna, you're giving me a fragment of a story. If you're telling the truth that ICE threw your 16-year-old niece to the ground in South Carolina, what did your 16-year-old niece do to get thrown to the ground? What happened before that? What happened around that? What's the context of the story? Just that one fragment of information alone doesn't prove anything. Ozzy said, okay, folks, have a blessed day. All right, you too, Ozzy. Tom Baker said, how does the National Guard fight crime? Well, they do whatever they are deployed there to do. You had to talk to the sergeant or captain in charge of their deployment. I'm not that person. Bean, thank you for the heart. Dean says, a good comment is one that agrees with him, nothing more than that. So, Dean, I'm going to give you a good comment here. So now I'll disprove you. Trixie says he is ineffective and has misdirected funds, should be helping citizens. Who are you talking about? Who's he? Y'all are causing me to not be able to respond to what you're saying with the pronouns. Tell me the person you're talking about. Javier said, am I pro-ICE? Yes, I'm pro-ICE. I'm going to run tomorrow morning. And when I get done running about 5 in the morning tomorrow, I'm going to stand in a bucket of ice. Then I'm going to have ice on my calves. I'm going to have ice on my knees, ice on my hamstrings. And when I make my protein shakes in the morning, I use 3 ice cubes. And when I make the protein shake in the afternoon, if I have another one, I use 2 ice cubes, so I'm very pro ice. Christy said, it's sad when you put politics or your hate for someone over the safety of your people or city. I agree with that. Nathan Don said, ignorant leftists are going to see that red hat behind you and think you are MAGA. LOL. Well, they can think whatever they want. I can't control people's thoughts. Leah, thank you for the lightning bolt. Andrea Levitt Tupin, thank you for the heart. CW says, yes, you were asking if we agree. Confluence is agreement. Okay. That's not the word. I was a word I was looking for that was escaping me in a moment. That it wasn't confluence, but if that's you're saying you agree, then that's great. Leah, thank you for the lightning bolt. Edie said, politicians do what fits their pockets to keep them in office. They go evil. Trump is a businessman. I agree with that. You're right. Dean Danger said, you literally praised Trump. What did I say? If you could point out what I said to praise him, if I did say it, then I will concur. But tell me what I said to praise him. Milt D said, what's needed is term limits. That I agree with. We've been talking about that for a while. The problem is for term limits to exist, there's like one extreme thing where like 2/3 of the states would have to have a vote and force Congress to do it. And or Congress would have to vote for it on their own. But why would Congress vote to limit their own terms? They would basically voting to get themselves fired. So that's the reason why we don't have term limits. Justin Davies, thanks for the follow. Sam Mugarura, thanks for the share. Grants, thanks for the follow. William Cottrell said the speaker needs to sit down and negotiate Obama health care. Negotiate what? It already exists. What's the negotiation? Leah, thank you for lighting up the gift gallery and the rose and the finger heart. Leah, you're going hard in here. I appreciate you. Milt D, thank you for the follow. Bean said, I love the sounds. Me too. Leah, you're on fire. I appreciate you. YFM Josh said, yo, I thought for sure you were an attorney. What's your actual career outside of TikTok? Well, TikTok is not part of my career at all. I am not an attorney. I only play one on TikTok. I run this company called Work on Your Game Incorporated, Josh. My background is as a professional athlete. I played basketball overseas for 10 years. I stopped playing 10 years ago, and now I run this company called Work on Your Game Incorporated. It started with me taking the mindset tools to help athletes reach the top of the sports game and teaching that stuff to business people, entrepreneurs, professionals. Still do that now. Our main focus these days is helping entrepreneurs get their businesses to higher levels, helping them scale up their businesses with 6 or 7 figures. We even work with starting out entrepreneurs as well. And our flagship thing that we are focused on right now is called the Power Presence Protocol. That is taking 85% of communication that is nonverbal, making sure that you master that 85% so that most of your work is done before you say a single word. That is through your energy, your aura, your presence, your communication, your eye contact, all of that energy that communicates to the rest of the world without you actually saying anything. That's one of the things that I love talking about and I like focusing on. Is one of our main things right now. You see these books behind me. The manual for the Power Presence, the hardcover, is coming in the mail within the next, we're told the next 3 to 7 days, 4 to 7 days. So as soon as we get it, I'll show it to you all. I'm excited to show it to you all as soon as I get it. But it's still at the printers right now. Last I checked, it hadn't even been shipped yet. Usually once they tell me it's shipped, it usually comes like 2 days later. But as of right now, it is scheduled to arrive between October 17th and October 23rd and October 29th. So actually more than 4 days, 10 to 16 days. So sometimes it takes long. Then sometimes they'll just come out of nowhere and say, oh, it'll be here tomorrow. So 10 to 16 days before we get that. Again, it's called the Power Presence Protocol. That's going to be an actual program that I teach live. We're going to do a 5-day challenge. Then we're going to have a mastermind. And then we're going to also offer one-on-one coaching for that. So that's the main thing that I'm focused on right now. So anybody wants to get into that, just text the word POWER, POWER, to the number that's in my profile. And that's where you can learn more about that. But I am not a lawyer. But I work with some lawyers. I have some lawyers in my coaching programs. I'm going to be speaking at a law organizations conference. I'm going to be speaking at in about 3 weeks. Not speaking about law, though. I'm going to be speaking about the stuff that I just told you about. So shout out to the lawyers out there, but I am not a lawyer. A lot of people mistake me for a lawyer. Even in real life, people ask me if I'm a lawyer, but I am not. Bean, thank you. You like the tie. Christy, thank you for the rose. Andrea Leavitt said, I love listening to you. Make sense and I learn a lot. Well, thank you. Johnny 424, thanks for the follow. Jay Rocket said, got in late. What's the topic? The topic is Donald Trump is the greatest human of all time, and I'm asking anybody to prove me wrong. No, that's not the topic, Jay Rocket. The topic is Chicago being invaded, quote unquote, tongue in cheek, by the National Guard with help from Governor Abbott down in Texas. Lynn said Walgreens, just about everything in Albuquerque. Yeah, I figured it was a Walgreens. I thought it was a Walgreens store. JJ said, why don't we only eat tacos on Tuesday? Speak for yourself. Dean said, you literally said he isn't a politician. No, I didn't. Straw man.
Strawberry cheesecake.
Milt D said, no one is coming to save you. Deal with your trauma, trust God, and level up. I agree with that. L7 Society, thanks for the follow. Elmo, thanks for the follow. DB818, thanks for the follow. Carly, Indiana, good morning. Chris Lifted says, the war done in Israel. Well, according to what we've heard it is, but who knows? Trump has he's gotten an agreement done, and some people have been released. Even Kamala Harris and Hillary Clinton gave Trump credit. So, I mean, I think he's done something. I think we have to agree he's done something significant here, that you got Hillary Clinton and Kamala Harris going on TV and actually giving him credit out of their own mouths. He had to have done something. So, again, even if you're super anti-Trump, can people not at least acknowledge that? Echo said another strawberry, yes. YFM Josh says, someone could snap their fingers and make you president today. Would you at least consider it? What's the salary? What do I get? And what do I have to give up to get it? So you're asking that sounds like a good question, Josh, but I need more information. What do I get in exchange for being president? And what do I have to give up to get it in exchange for being president? So you give up a lot of your privacy, first of all. I'm a public figure now. I mean, I'm on the internet broadcasting, but the number of people who know me now is nothing compared to the number of people who would know me if I was president. The amount of scrutiny you get, amount of scrutiny you get for anybody who knows you, your associates, your friends, your family, your background, everything you've ever done in your life. You know how much people dig into that? And half the people are not going to like you. So they're going to be trying to make you look bad with anything they can find. Then half the people like you and they're good. They're going to support, but the amount that you have to give up to be president, it's not an easy job. I don't know if I would want that job, but depending on what I get, I would have to weigh the pros versus the cons. So sounds like a good question, but there's a lot more context that needs to go into that. Love and light, thanks for the follow. Steve said, have you lived in Illinois before? No. I lived in a lot of places, but never Illinois. I'm from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Originally, I now live in Miami, Florida. Lynn said, thank you for, I lost my spot. Lynn said, thank you for your content, sir. Be following your facts and truth are appreciated. Thank you. Libby M, thank you for the rose. Dookie said, I agree. You want as little government involvement in your life as possible, no matter your race. That is correct. RW6160, thanks for the follow. Ron P, thanks for the follow. Milt D said, Gavin Newsom, wolf in sheep's clothing. Well, he's a traditional politician. He's a very good politician. I'm not saying I agree with his stuff, but he's good at being a politician. So Gavin Newsom, definitely wolf in sheep's clothing. That's what a good politician should be. Wolf in sheep's clothing. Mimashari, thanks for the follow. Echo said, come on, peeps, tap. I need help. I have to leave in 5. All right, we got to 100K, so Echoes, thank you. Captain Ronnie said, Democrats are awful. All right, fair enough. Grand Gerardo, I don't know what you're laughing at, but okay. Echo says, strawberry 3 times before I leave. All right, so I'll give you one because you asked for it.
Strawberry cheesecake.
Auntie Tiff, thanks for the follow. Turtle Burger said, if Batman becomes a commissioner of Gotham, would the bat signal be irrelevant then? I'm not understanding your question. No Nose Healing said, I have a question. You don't have to say you have a question. Just write the question. Golf Gambler said, doesn't the statistical evidence point to higher degen behavior and primarily blue? Well, it depends on how you look at the stats. So Golf, that's a good question, but your question could be interpreted in multiple different ways. So statistical evidence is too broad of a phrase because statistically, if you just look at the raw data, more crime gets committed by white people because there are more, and in red areas because there are more red areas and there are more white people in those red areas. Now, if you look at per capita, then you'd be looking at a whole different set of information. So when people talk about stats, it depends on what stats you look at. And depending on the way that you choose to parse and present data, you can tell any story you want. There's a book out there called How to Lie with Statistics. Any of you who has not read this book, please go get the book and read it. You get it on Amazon. It's a pretty short book. It's like 50 pages. And there's a lot of pictures in the book too. So it's not like this deep reading book. You could go through this book in one sitting in about 20 minutes. And it explains to you the many different ways that you can take data and you can present it in different ways and tell whatever story you want to tell. So when people talk about stats and facts, you hear these terms all the time. You can lie with stats and you can lie with facts very easily. You just got to choose which parts of the stats you want to show people. And you can tell any story you want to tell. Politicians do this for a living. Again, I told y'all, this is why I don't get in politics. I want to lie for a living. Because I can very easily mislead people by telling them lies because I can just manipulate data to make it look however I want it to look. The fun part would be calling out my peers and my opponents in politics and pointing out how they're bullshitting and lying. That would be fun, but then they might do the same thing to me. And all the while we're arguing, the citizens are getting nothing out of it. See, that's the whole reason why I don't like politics. Root G, thanks for the follow. Christy, thank you for the silver boxing gloves. I like that. RW said that's done on purpose. Javier said Trump has committed 34 felonies. Trump was friends with Epstein and denies it. Many more. All right, he committed 34 felonies. Well, he got convicted of 34 felonies. Those actually used to be misdemeanors, and it wouldn't even have been a court case had it not been Trump. So is really a non sequitur. You're making a point, but you're not making a point. He was friends with Epstein, so what? He didn't deny he was friends with Epstein. He was friends with him. What he says is, I stopped being friends with him because he was a creep. That's what he said. He didn't say he was never friends with the guy.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy. Okay.
Dr. B818 said the facts lead to different opposing viewpoints, both based on facts. That is correct. See, that's the reason why facts don't matter. Bradley Allen Parr said the news is just what they want you to see. Every news outlet will put their own spin on it. Also true. Not Josh 5954. Thanks for the follow. Is that 954? Is that South Florida? Bean says citizens need to stand up to their politicians in their area and remind them who they work for. This is also true. The local politicians, you can actually have some say with them. Now, the federal politicians, good luck. But local politicians, you can actually get in their ear. And what happens locally matters more than what happens federally anyway. But everyone seems to pay attention to the federal stuff. But it's the local stuff that matters the most. So for all of you, is your city council. Y'all can actually go to those meetings and shake those people's hands. The mayor, depending on what city you live in. Those people actually make a whole bunch of decisions that affect you directly and in a more immediate way. That's what everybody should pay attention to. But everyone seems to focus on the federal stuff. Echo said the goal made. Thank you, Echoes. Emily, thanks for the follow. Joseph Barnhill, thanks for the follow. CBN said, much love from the Bay Area. Dre all day forever. CBN, appreciate you. Thanks for the follow. Becky, thanks for the follow. XTR said, I love the ice response. Thanks. Lulu said, do you think Antifa is real or a myth? Well, they give me a false binary here, Lulu, but Antifa is real. Those are real people, and they really call themselves that, and they're really doing stuff that disturbs the community. There's no Antifa where I live, but I've seen the videos enough to know it's not just an idea, as Joe Biden posited in 2020. No said, when protesters say record arrests to use later, how are they using it later and for what? Well, they'll record themselves getting arrested as a way of saying, well, look at the cops being bad to me or mishandling me or doing something wrong to me. And any little detail you could use to try to get out of the situation. So people record it, and also as a way of trying to intimidate the police. Hey, I'm recording you, as if that's going to stop them from doing something. And sometimes it might work because cops are human. So those are some of the reasons I'm thinking off the top of my head. But you would have to ask an active protester. They probably can give you 10 more reasons that I didn't mention. Bradley Allen, thanks for the follow. Pam, thank you for the rose. Leah, thank you for the lightning bolts again. Aunt Day said, I think the left's use of the acronyms kind of brain deads them to what the groups are doing. I think in some ways that they normalize it because they say it so often that it doesn't even matter. Leah says, can anyone help me meet the live goal? Yes. Can anybody help Leah meet the live goal? Lulu said, do you agree that billions of tax money should be used for illegals, housing, and healthcare? Lulu, you're asking me these binary questions. I don't like binaries.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy.
And this question is a leading question. This is what is it? I'm trying to think of what it is. This is what we call a loaded question. Do I agree? And then you tell me, you put in the part that you want me to talk about. To say loaded question, Lulu. I don't know if you're doing this on purpose, but I don't. I tend to not like loaded questions because you're directing the conversation. I don't have my conversation directed. Leah said, "Oh, again, can anybody help me beat the live goal?" Yes. Nathan Don says, "Super nice square knot. I love it." Well, thank you, Nathan Don. Cheryl Ramey, thank you for the repost. Bean, thank you for the lightning bolts. Carlos said, Nobel Peace Prize for Trump. Yeah, maybe next time. We'll see. Hocus Pocus, good morning. Says, not worth it. A few more comments. Nana said, what are all the free Palestine people going to do now? Are they going to criticize how the deal happened? Of course, you know what they're going to do. We know the playbook. DeWine, thank you for the share. D. Anderson, thanks for the follow. Carlos said the Dems need to work on their game because Republicans are blowing them out. Well, for now, Carlos, but don't get cocky. 2026 is only a year away. Carlos said Democrat Party 99-0. Well, ain't 99-0. I mean, there are still some elected Democrats. They have enough power that the government's in shutdown right now because they still had to agree on something. So even if one party has control, the other party can still do stuff to slow things down. Like there's a government shutdown right now because even though the Republicans have majorities, they still can't just do stuff. If they can't get the Democrats to agree to some things, things will still get shut down. The proof of it is in the pudding of this current government shutdown. We talked about that last week. Purple Bama said, I got the third day. I'm excited to share it with my team at work. That's what's up. Those of you who don't know what the third day is, that's my book right here. The decision that separates the pros from the amateurs. You can get a free copy of this. Just go to thirddaybook.com. Just cover the shipping. Thirddaybook.com. Get a free copy of this book. Thirddaybook.com. Bama, I don't know if you got one copy or you got a copy for your whole team, but we got 3 packs, 10 packs. So if you got more than one person you want to get the book, give everybody their own individual book so y'all not passing the book around. People start fighting over the book like kids fighting over a toy. All right, thirddaybook.com is where you can get that book. Ban said he's not that good. Who are you talking about? Kiva Bella Scott, thanks for the follow. Tara said they use stats to manipulate us. Well, they use stats to manipulate people who don't understand that they're using stats to manipulate. Milt D said explain per capita means how much is something happening per the number of people that exist to possibly do it. In other words, per capita crime done by white people and then per capita crime done by black people. So not just crime in general, but per capita as opposed to raw numbers. So if you say how many murders happen, there are probably going to be more white murders than black murders, meaning the suspect is white or black. It'll probably be more white than black because there's like 5 times more white people. But per capita, in other words, the percentage basis, how many happen versus how many total people there are, the per capita for black people is a whole lot higher because there's damn near the same number of murders, but there's 5 times fewer black people. So per capita, the black murder suspect number is a lot higher than the white murder suspect number. When you break down the data based on how many possible people there are that could possibly do the crime. Allegedly. Again, these are suspects, not necessarily convictions. Natural Works, thanks for the follow. Zaire, thanks for the share. Donnie said, Newsom is worse than anyone in office. Well, he is in office, and I think he's going to continue to move forward. I think right now, I would put him as the strongest candidate the Democrats have. I don't know if that's good or bad for the Democrats. Right now, it'll be him against Kamala for who wins the nomination. I think he'll beat Kamala. He needs another year to build up more momentum. Kamala has momentum because she was the nominee technically last year, and she got her book tour going and all that. I think Newsom is a lot better politician than she is, though. I think he'll destroy her. If he gets one more year of building up attention, I think he'll destroy her. But we'll see. Maybe I'll be wrong. Charles Capel, thanks for the follow. Dr. B said, would you say your athletic achievement led to your clear thinking to understand politics and manipulation? Absolutely not, Dr. B. 818. Good question, but absolutely not. I know a whole lot of athletes. Most athletes don't read. They don't think. They're not very clear thinkers. Many athletes I know are just not very intelligent people. No disrespect to athletes in general, but I know a lot of athletes, and a lot of them are just not very intelligent, especially football and basketball players. So no, I'm an anomaly amongst athletes. I actually read, I write, I pay attention to this stuff, and I can articulate myself in ways that go above and beyond an athlete to the point that I say humbly, but if I never told you I was an athlete, I could do the same thing having never played a sport. So no, my athletic achievement had nothing to do with this stuff that I'm talking about now. Now the mindset stuff, discipline, confidence, mental toughness, taking initiative, that came from my background in sports. I learned that stuff, or I contextualized it through my experience as an athlete. So that came from it. But this stuff, like what you hear me talking about every day on here, has nothing to do with my background in sports. Every once in a while, I'll bring something up, like results-based business and performance matters and all that part. But other than that, no. Traditional, good morning. The goal was met. Thank you, Courtney. Can't take today. Mark99, thanks for the follow. Marcus said you forgot to lock and load. Yes, that was the loaded question. Yes, that's the loaded question sound. It's so quick that it goes by so quick, people might not always hear it. Glow, thanks for the good morning. Marky Man, thanks for reminding me. Mikey Tips, thanks for the heart. Danny said Newsom is trying to redistrict California to get more Dem seats. Yeah, I know he is. And he might do it. He might successfully do it. Just Shauna said, I appreciate your real and honest views. Want to get one of your books for my 20-year-old son. We'll give him the one I just mentioned. ThirdDayBook.com. The book's free. Just cover the shipping. ThirdDayBook.com. Get him this book right here. What's your son into, Shauna? Is he an athlete? Is he an artist? Is he entrepreneurial? Is he an engineer? Is he in college? What's he doing? David Thornton, thanks for the follow. Ban said, I'm from California. Gavin Newsom is terrible. Billions of dollars missing from high-speed rail. Well, California is such a big state. California is a very big place. California is a beautiful place. Shout out to California, the place. I wouldn't want to live in California. Y'all taxes are too high. About 2018-19, I was looking at California as a possibility. The thing that stopped me from getting serious about it was the housing in California. All the housing out there was old. It was like houses in apartment buildings, everything had been there for years. Because down here in Miami, everything's new. Miami is like a rebuilt town. So everything in Miami is new construction, like last 20 years. Looking at California, everything's been there for like 50 years, but it costs more than Miami costs. I'm like, how does it cost more, but it's older? And then I looked at the taxes. I said, you got to be out of your fucking mind. Y'all paying like 30, 40% income taxes. Miami or Florida, there's none. So much for that plan. I'm still here in South Florida. I'm not leaving. So that was my plan to possibly look at California. A lot of people I know in California are leaving. I've seen a lot of Californians go to Texas, and a lot of them go to Tennessee, and a lot of them went to Florida. Prince Maddie, thanks for the follow. Donnie said, California is not nice anymore. I'm in Southern California. Newsom has destroyed our state. Sad. Yeah, that sucks. California is a nice place. LA is nice. Where was I at a couple years ago? I was in Huntington Beach. Beautiful place. Very quiet, very clean. It's a little bit too cold, too. California gets cold. It gets cold. It's like 50, 60 degrees at some points. I like it here where a cold day here is like 65. The low is 65. Y'all have days where the high is 65. Not my type of place. San Diego, beautiful place as well, but nothing beats Florida. Florida's the best. Blush said, many in California don't like Gavin Newsom. Yeah, the thing is, Blush, there's like a whole bunch more who do like him, and the state's too big. So I don't know if y'all can get rid of him. unless he leaves to go be president. I think that's the next step. But his term is up, right? Isn't Gavin Newsom's term up or what? What's his term situation? I'm gonna try to use Gemini. Gemini is like the Google's version of Chat GPT. So they call it Gemini. So let's see. What is Governor Gavin Newsom's current term, and how many more terms can he be governor, and when is his term up? Some of y'all might know the answer to this, but I just want to know. So Gemini is very fast. It's faster than ChatGPT. I will say that. So ChatGPT, get with it. Gemini is faster than ChatGPT. I just downloaded this yesterday. Gemini is like the AI bot done by Google. So Gavin Newsom is in his second term as governor. A governor can do 2 4-year terms. So this is it for him. So he can't run for re-election. His current term is going to expire in January of 27. So that's perfect timing for him. So he'll be governor rest of this year, all of 26. Then he's out in 27, and that's perfect timing for him to get ready to run for the 28 election. So he'll have all of 2027, and then all of 2028 to run for president. Gavin Newsom's running for president in 2028. That one I can pretty much guarantee. As long as he's alive, he's running. And that's happening. So Van said, I'm in Huntington Beach. We get a bad rap. Who, Huntington Beach? When I was in Huntington Beach, it was beautiful. Beautiful place, extremely clean. I didn't get to see as much of it as I wanted to. It was a little bit too cold. So I didn't spend as much time outside as I wanted to, but it was a beautiful place. Now I was at a hotel resort too, so maybe for what it's worth, maybe I didn't get to see the real Huntington Beach. But I was literally on the beach, and it was a little bit too cold outside. It was nice the first day I got there, but then it was rainy and cool the next day. There's a song called "It Never Rains in Southern California." It was raining in Southern California when I was there, so the song lied to me. And yeah, that's all I can say. I wasn't there that long, so I didn't get it. I didn't get to really feel it. Shauna says, started college for psychology. Now he doesn't know what he wants to do. Wish he go to trade school. Shauna, I started college as a psych major too. I changed to a business major. But the third day will help him no matter what he does. Donnie says, terms up. Yeah, his term. Well, he still got another year. Van said, Katie Porter is trying to become our next governor. Yeah, I heard about that. I heard that clip when she was being interviewed, and she was, wait, which one is Katie Porter? Is she the one who cussed out her worker for being in her shot, or is Katie Porter the one who didn't want to answer the question about Trump voters? Bean said, thank God he's not good for Californians. Well, you got another year. Don't thank God yet. It ain't over. You got all the rest of this year. You got all of 2026. Now, he ain't going yet. Shauna, you're welcome. Both. Oh, is the same person both times? Oh yeah. Well, who's she running against? Who's going to beat her? Somebody got to beat her. Now, she might win. I saw the clip where she was recording something and one of her workers walked behind her while she was recording and she cussed her out. Get the fuck out of my shot. Like, why is she so angry? And then did y'all hear the news about what she did with her ex-husband? That's her? Is Katie Porter the woman who poured boiling water on her ex-husband? Is this the same woman? Is Katie Porter the one running for governor in California, the woman who poured boiling water or boiling potatoes on her ex-husband? I might start using Gemini more. Gemini is pretty quick. So they say Katie Porter she's a U.S. representative for California's 47th district. She's running for the Senate being vacated. So they say Katie Porter is running for Senate. This is what Gemini says. So y'all are saying she's running for governor. So which one is it? The one who poured boiling water on her husband is Mary Ann Mendoza. I don't know. Maybe I asked the wrong question. Boiling mashed potatoes? Donnie says she's running for governor. Okay. People are telling me that Katie Porter is going to run for governor in California. Is this true or not? So we're testing Gemini out here this morning. So Gemini says Katie Porter is not running for governor. She's running for Senate. No, this is old. I think y'all are right. This is old because they said she's running for Senate in 2024. Did she win? Is Katie Porter a senator right now? They said she's running in 2024. So Gemini's giving me old information. The primary was held on March 4th, 2024. She's one of the... Okay. It is now October 2025. Is Katie Porter a senator in California? What is she doing? How did that election go in 2024? So sometimes with these AI bots, you got to ask more specific questions because they got the wrong information. So Adam Schiff won the election. He's a junior U.S. senator for California. Katie Porter was unsuccessful to win the Senate seat. She's currently a private citizen. Okay, so Katie Porter ain't got nothing to do. Okay, so I guess that's why she's going to run. So you got to ask it more specific questions. So Gemini is failing his first tests. But these things are usually not good with current events. My experience with AI is that if you ask it questions about evergreen stuff, is very good. Current events is not always so good. The best app for current events as far as AI is Grok, because Grok gets all its information from X. This is Elon Musk. Grok is Elon Musk's platform. Tell me about Katie Porter, the woman in California. Is she the same woman who poured boiling potatoes on her husband and yelled at her staff member to get the fuck out of my shot? And is she running for governor of California? Now, let's see what Grok has to say. We're going to compare Elon to OpenAI to Google. OpenAI is ChatGPT, Elon is Grok, and Google is Gemini. So they're doing some thinking. Grok is thinking about this. Bianco for California Governor Quail Bridge says, "Who's Bianco?" Dan said, "AI is not reliable. Not on current events, is not. I like it better for evergreen stuff." Terry said, "Mashed potato." It was mashed potatoes. Dan said, "AI will lie to you, not on purpose, but it will tell you bad information if you ask the wrong question." I agree with that. Donnie says she's unhinged. LOL. Chrissy said, "I use Perplexity. It will give up-to-date information and links to the source." Okay, so Perplexity is another one. I'm going to download Perplexity and we'll give it a shot. What's this other one I got? All right. Right now, like, I have mostly like Perplexity at 340,000 ratings and all 5 stars, but Google Gemini has 749,000 and also 5 stars. So there's an AI arms race going on right now. ChatGPT has 4 million ratings and all 5 stars. So they all got 5 stars. Grok got 615,000, 5 stars. So they all got 5 stars ratings. So we can't go off of that. So y'all are saying that's her. Okay. So we're still waiting for Grok. Grok is taking forever to come up with the answer to this question. Leah said, "Keep tapping to get the 200K." Leah, I don't think we're going to get the 200K because I got to go to the bathroom. We're at 129,000. Chad Bianco is Riverside County Sheriff. Okay. Bianca is a Republican. My vote. He's going to run for governor. How's he going to win governor in California? That might be tough. Remember, Larry Elder tried to do it, and he didn't really come close. I mean, he tried, but it didn't feel like he really came close. So what I'm trying to find out is Katie Porter the woman who yelled at her staff member to get the fuck out of my shop? That's her? Is that the same person? That's what I'm trying to figure out. Because that right there was some anger management issue. When she yelled at her staff member to get the fuck out of my shop.
Who voted for Trump?
How would I need them over to
What bus do you think?
Oh yeah, she looks angry. I'm looking at this. All right, so let's listen to some Katie Porter. Here we go.
Lose. It's dying prematurely to air pollution and other problems, and the state could lose. Get out of my fucking shot!
I wanted to tell you that that's actually correct. It's not that it's electric vehicles. It's that if we don't make a commitment to there's climate worry.
Okay, it does. Okay, you also were in my shop before that. Stay out of my shot. Okay, I'm going to start again with electric vehicles saving us money.
March 3.
It's dying prematurely.
Okay, this is her. Yeah, so this is an angry woman. So then there's this video where she's being interviewed. She was asking what she would say to GOP voters. This is funny.
For you, that's what did you say to the 40% of California voters who you'll need in order to win? Who voted for Trump?
How would I need them in order to win?
Well, unless you think you're going to get 60% of the vote. You think you'll get 60%? Everybody who did not vote for Trump will vote for you. That's what you're
In a general election, yes. If it is me versus a Republican, I think that I will win the people who did not vote for Trump.
What if it's you versus another Democrat?
I don't intend that to be the case.
So how do you not intend that to be the case? Are you going to ask them not to run?
No, I'm saying I'm going to build the support. I have the support already in terms of name recognition. And so I'm going to do the very best I can to make sure that we get through this primary in a really strong position. But let me be clear with you. I represented Orange County. I represented a purple area. I have stood on my own 2 feet and won Republican votes before. That's not something every candidate in this race can say. If you're from a deep blue area, if you're from LA or you're from Oakland, you know what?
And you're saying, no, you don't.
No, I'm saying I'm going to try to win every vote I can. And what I'm saying to you is that then we're never going to get there. And we're just going to circle around.
I'm investigative
I've never had to do
reporter.
this before, ever.
You've never had a conversation with
To end an interview.
Okay, but every other candidate has done this.
What part of I'm me? I'm running for governor because I'm a leader. So I am going to make.
So you're not going to answer questions from reporters? Okay, why don't we go through? I will continue to ask follow-up questions because that's my job as a journalist, but I will go through and ask these, and if you don't want to answer, you don't want to answer. So nearly every legislative...
I don't want to have an unhappy experience with you. And I don't want this all on camera.
I don't want to have an unhappy experience with you either. I would love to continue to ask these questions so that we can show our viewers what every candidate feels about every one of these issues that they care about. And redistricting is a massive issue. We're going to do an entire story just on the responses to that question. And if ask everybody the same follow-up questions. What do you say to the...
She appears to have some, just by her body language alone, she appears to be a very aggressive woman. I don't like aggressive women. Not that type of aggressive, but anyway. Let's see. Yeah, she is crazy. She cussed out her staff member like that, and the staff member took it. She's kind of crazy, but she might be our next governor of California, so congratulations. That was Katie Porter. This is a woman who might be running for governor. Actually, she is running for governor. That interview was part of her running for governor. Stardust said Katie Porter is toxic. Well, she ran Orange County, so Orange County liked her. How'd she win? Was she in a live interview when that happened? The one where she's talking to a woman was an interview. The one where she said, "Get out of my fucking shop," that was a recording. She was recording something, and I don't know why that video came out. I don't know who put that out. I don't know why she did that, but they put it out. The one where she yelled at her staff, it looks like a personal video. I don't know how it came out though. A-Town said, "What's your opinion on Jasmine Crockett?" She's elementary level politician. She doesn't have much in terms of intellectual substance. She can grab headlines because of the stuff that she's saying, but she has Kamala syndrome. The more she talks, the more obvious it becomes she has no substance. Andrew on YouTube said, "Illinois State Police are essentially under Pritzker's direction, correct?" Yes, they are. Lori said, "If they elect Katie Porter, then California is really going to be a shit show." Well, they won her, so I mean, hey, Orange County elected her. How'd she win that? That's what I'm trying to figure out. Mama said, "Megyn Kelly shredded her." Yeah, I heard Megyn Kelly talking about her. Gary said, "Katie Porter, you know the shit will stink before you remove the septic lid." Bean said, "California elections are corrupted." Okay, fair enough. Donnie said, "Fine footage on Chad Bianco." I haven't heard of him yet. Katrina said, "Not California's." Terry said, "Anger problems." Yeah, clearly. Man of Steel said, "Her staff saved that video for later use." Yeah, obviously. It must be what happened. Jeanette said, "Don't do Jasmine that way. Everyone's got content. You might not like what she has to say." Jeanette, no, that's not what I'm saying, that I don't like what she has to say. What I'm saying is she has very little in terms of intellectual substance. She does not have much in terms of intellectual substance. She is good at grabbing headlines. She can say things that grab headlines. She is cosplaying the ghetto black woman with the ebonics and the slang. She's cosplaying that. Even if that is who she was, that's not what flies in law school. That's not what flies in a court of law. And she was a lawyer. That's not what flies in politics. And she's doing it in politics now because they're all playing by Trump's frame, which is just be your own personality if that happens to work and get you attention. She can grab attention in headlines, but she's not going to have any substantial conversation about anything serious because she doesn't have anything serious to say. Again, she's good at drawing attention. Drawing attention is not the same as having substance. Those are two different things. Some people draw attention and they have substance. Some people only draw attention with no substance, and some people don't draw much attention, but they have a lot of substance. Jasmine Crockett has a lot of it. She can draw a lot of attention for now. She has very little substance. So that's my opinion on her. Somebody asked my opinion. That's my opinion. If she has substance, tell me what the substance is. It's not about me agreeing or disagreeing, though. It has nothing to do with it. She's a Democrat, and seems to be playing the normal Democrat card. They all kind of say the same stuff. So it has nothing to do with her personally, what she says. They all say the same things. Donnie said, "Chad is the best bet. I work in Orange County. They want Chad now." Okay. Michelle, good morning. Prince Maddie said, "Crockett is just a hot mic for the crazy Dems." Yeah, she's right now able to draw attention with the stuff that she posts. But what is she saying that... Let's look at her X feed. So I'll give you some. Let's see if we can find some examples. Jasmine Crockett for U.S. So there's her Congresswoman page, and then which has 259,000 followers, and then there's her more personal page. Let's look at her personal page. 482,000 followers. So these are the things that she says. So she's a Congresswoman from Texas, District 30, civil rights and criminal attorney. That was her background. I guarantee you she wasn't talking like this in the courtroom. That's why she's cosplaying. So when I say she's cosplaying, this is why. Because she wasn't talking like this in the courtroom. You don't talk like this in front of a judge if you're trying to win a case. I guarantee you she never did this till she got on the internet. She's a progressive, obviously. She used to be a state representative, okay? And she has she, her, Ella, so she got pronouns in her bio. I take that for what it's worth. And this is her personal account. All right, again, 482,000 followers. So let's see what she says. So it says first MTJ and now DJT. That's Marjorie Taylor Greene, who she dissed you saw when she dissed her, they were arguing in the middle of a Senate hearing or a congressional hearing. "No pearly white gates for the mean, manic, mad mango man." This is Jasmine Crockett. This is the most recent post on her account. This is what first sentence. "No pearly white gates for the mean, manic, mad mango man." This is Jasmine Crockett. Okay, I just told you she has very little in terms of intellectual substance. Here it is. This is why she draws attention. This is attention drawing. Is this substance? No, it's not. This is name calling. Okay, she called him a name. And some may say, well, Donald Trump calls people names. Yes, he does. Donald Trump is president. Donald Trump has some substance behind his arguments. Jasmine Crockett has this. She has nothing else. There's a difference. And then she said, I wonder how anyone will buy those Trump Bibles. He's definitely never read any portion of one. Okay. And then she quotes something from the Bible. Okay. All right. Whatever that's worth. Let's see. Next thing that she said. I'm just looking at her tweets, not her retweets. Here's another one. I'm reading her most recent tweet. I finally figured it out. He can't stop saying my name. So this is more drawing attention to herself because it's possibly the only one that he can pronounce. Other members' names trip him up, like up those stairs on Air Force Ones, or like, and then she mentions a word that I can't even pronounce, acetaminophen. Focus on not running the country into the ground or get hooked on phonics. This is your state representative, Jasmine Crockett, in Congress. Focus on not running the country into the ground or get hooked on phonics so that you can at least sound like you know what you are doing. Again, this is your congressperson. An American who just wants competency over childish, contemptible cowardice, corruption in the White House. It sounds like she's trained ChatGPT to write her post for her, just using these alliterative statements. This is Jasmine Crockett. And then she posts a picture of Donald Trump when he slipped on the step, walking up the steps of Air Force One. Again, I'm just giving y'all my context for why I'm saying what I'm saying about Jasmine Crockett. Now, here's another one. Let's read another latest tweet. I'm just going right down the line her latest post. So, Congress is still paid during the shutdown. We should go back into session. We were scheduled to be in session. We should work on the appropriation bills that are behind and necessitate a CR. We should swear, recollect somebody, I'm not pronouncing that name, and vote on the release of the Epstein files. We should have hearings about the political violence, the state of our economy, how to keep Americans safe from this out-of-control government, and the list goes on. But the pro-life, fiscally responsible party is okay with snatching healthcare away and or making it unaffordable, all while getting paid to skip out on work. Got it. Okay, so a little bit of sarcasm here. This one is a little bit directionally like saying something positive, but then she pivots to, let me just blame the other side. So Democrats blame the Republicans, Republicans blame the Democrats. There's no substance in this. Any Democrat can do this. Any Democrat could have posted this. Any Republican could have posted it. They all say this. Let's see the last. Let's read one more from Jasmine Crockett. And again, I'm going straight down the line here, so I'm not picking and choosing. I don't know which has them more shook. The idea that their constituents may be able to afford health care, or if they just do the right thing, or that the Epstein vote will be up. It's amazing that ensuring that breathing people continue to breathe or holding pedos accountable isn't part of the Republican agenda. Again, how much substance does anybody need to write? Any of you could have wrote this. And this is a person with a law degree, a person who is a practicing lawyer, and this is a person who, any of you want to argue that she has substance? I just read your last 4 posts. This is what's getting her attention. Again, attention and substance are 2 different things. I say she is very good at getting attention for now. The problem is this has a shelf life. That can work for a little while, but eventually people, they kind of get it. I get it. This is who you are. This is what you're about. Okay, we got it. Now, do you have anything actually to say? She was doing this months ago. So right now she has a niche audience. Some of you maybe who like her and you keep listening to what she says because it's entertaining to you, or maybe you are happy to see a black person doing it, I guess. And she's bashing Trump, and a lot of you don't like Trump. So I guess she's fulfilling your desire. But similar to Kamala Harris had 107 days. After about 35 days, people said, okay, we got over the excitement of you. Now, do you actually have anything to say? Do you have anything to offer? After 35 days, she didn't have anything. So the last 65 or so days of her campaign, she had nothing. This is the reason why she lost. Jasmine Crockett has the same issue. The only difference is Jasmine Crockett ain't running for president. She's just a representative. So she could just keep doing this and stay in her space, and she'll build up her nice little following on the internet and maybe write a book. I wouldn't read that book. And she can maybe get a TV show on CNN if she leaves that, and she can be the next, maybe a higher level Joy Reid, younger Joy Reid. That's what she appears to be to me. She's not even Jen Psaki. I don't see her as having, she just doesn't have the intellectual depth. That's the issue. I want to hear depth from people. If you're going to talk, I want to hear you say something that has some depth, something that makes me think, something that makes me say, okay, that's an interesting angle. I never thought about it that way. That's an interesting way of looking at things. She doesn't do that. I'm only talking about this because y'all asked. Y'all asked me what I thought about Jasmine Crockett. Somebody said, well, you're just saying it because you disagree with what she says. She didn't say anything. Every Democrat says these things. She hasn't said anything for me to disagree with. So hopefully that has satisfied you all's desire. So Jeanette Smith said, am I happy with the stock market? Trump says one word and we all lose. I am happy with the stock market because it's not about what the stock market does in a day or two, Jeanette. It's about what it does over the course of 10, 20, 30, 50 years. So I'm a long-term investor. I invest and I forget. I'm not day trading. So I don't really care if it goes down or up on Thursday. It's about what it long-term does. And long-term S&P 500 is returning generally 8% per year over the last 100 years. So I don't care what happens again this week, next month. So yes, I am happy with it. Karina said, Wesley Hunt reps Texas. We do not claim her. Well, she's claiming y'all. You ain't got a choice, Karina. You're stuck with her. Rasheen said, so now read Donald Trump tweets for comparison if you are unbiased. So nobody asked me my opinion on Donald Trump, Rasheen, Tony. And the thing is, Donald Trump is president. And he's president because he offered substance in his arguments. His substance is the following. Number one, we're going to enforce our borders. Number two, we're going to fix the economy. Number three, we're going to make America great again. And number four, we're going to focus on Americans and not on everything happening in other parts of the world. Donald Trump came out with this in 2015, Rasheen. I don't need to read his tweets. That's exactly what he said from the very beginning. What's Jasmine Crockett's platform? She doesn't have one. Her platform is, I'm going to say negative things about Donald Trump. Okay, get in line. There's 100 people doing that. Linda said, Crockett has nothing as a one and done. You're correct about her. I don't know if she'll be one and done, but she has no substance. Maybe she'll win again. I don't know. I don't live in Texas. Glow said, because they asked him. Yes, exactly. Somebody asked me. Glow said, Jasmine could work at The View. Actually, she'd be very good on The View. She could replace Whoopi Goldberg. Maybe. Bell Crown said, Trump doesn't have depth to many aspects to life either. Look at America, total destruction. America's not total destruction. Bell Crown, if America was in total destruction, what are you doing on TikTok at this time of destruction? If America was in total destruction, I wouldn't be here talking to y'all. I'd be trying to save my life and that of my family. Donald Trump has a solid, substantial frame. I just gave it to you. Enforce the border, focus on America, make America great again, fix the economy. 1, 2, 3, 4. What's Jasmine Crockett's? Give me her 4. What are they? None of you can name even one. She doesn't have anything. Atlanta says he doesn't speak with substance. Yes, he does. I just gave you a substance. He's been saying the same 4 things for 10 years. He just comes up with different ways of saying it. Same 4 things, 10 years. Wild Terry said, we need to continue to boost your platform, get unbiased views. Well, thank you. Karina says she ran unopposed. She was forced on us unprovoked. She got competition coming up in 2026. Okay. We'll see. I'll be paying attention to that. A-Town said DT was charged with 30 felonies and no conviction. Teflon Don. Well, he got technically convicted. He just didn't go to jail. Bean said Crockett is filled with hate. Bean, I don't think she's filled with hate. I think she's playing her role. That's what she's doing. She's playing her role as a politician. I don't think she hates anything. I don't think she hates Donald Trump. I think she's just a person who needed. They decided to tap her as the person, and she's playing the role that she was asked to play, and she's doing what she needs to do. I don't think there's any real hate coming out of her. Ban said, nobody gave a shit about politics when Trump came in office. Anything, he made America wake up. I agree with that. Bell Crown said, you're in denial. You'll understand one day. Okay. You let me know what day that is. Kenneth Trucker, thanks for the follow. Member said, he's been saying it since the 80s when asked if he would ever run. Yes, and it's substantial. He has a real argument. Beeg said, how is Trump doing with his 90 deals in 90 days? I don't know. You tell me. I never did a live on that. But it is 10 o'clock, folks. I got to go. I do these live streams Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern. If you like this live, go get a copy of this book. It's free. It's called The Third Day. Just cover the shipping. ThirdDayBook.com. ThirdDayBook.com. The book's free. Just cover the shipping. We will send you a physical copy of the book, ThirdDayBook.com. And we got the MirrorOfMotivation.com. This book right here, also free. Just cover the shipping. MirrorOfMotivation.com. Either one of these I'll give you free. Make sure you text me. I send out a daily motivation text every day. Weekly motivation every Monday. My number is 305-384-6894. If you like this, text me and make sure you go get these books. MirrorOfMotivation.com, ThirdDayBook.com. The books are free. Just cover the shipping. Make sure you text me in my text community. I really got to go to the bathroom. So y'all be here tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. Eastern. Do these live streams Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern. So if you like this, be back here tomorrow. Topic to be determined. Usually a current event. Usually we talk about something related to Donald Trump because that's what y'all want to talk about. Y'all didn't care about Donald Trump. I wouldn't be talking about him. Y'all like talking about them, so that's why I talk about them. I'm just responding to the audience. And y'all want to hear me talk about Jasmine Crockett? I just did. I don't think there's anything else to say. So I will see y'all tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. Eastern. I appreciate you all. If you got any other questions, ask me tomorrow because I got to go to the bathroom. All right, we out of here. Work on your game.